Good Saturday afternoon to everybody. Is it afternoon yet? I think we're still morning. Are we close? We're close enough to call it afternoon. All right, I appreciate it. Hey, everybody, welcome again to Fresh Black Coffee on a Saturday morning and afternoon in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're blessed to have a beautiful day today. Man, that wind that was blowing, it felt more like we were in Miami or someplace. You know, it was pretty, and then rain, but thank goodness no tornadoes that I know of. Who knows? You know, in the insurance business, they have what they call, Medicare. That's special enrollment periods.
Yes.
And special enrollment periods whenever a disaster hits, and that means everybody can change their policies if they want. Otherwise, you're locked in until October. And so basically you're locked until January, but you can start signing up for a new policy, a different policy, but you're locked in for a year. But every time there's a tornado, storm, whatever, or any disaster, they give a special enrollment. So we've had several special enrollments in this 2026.
I hope the people in Ponca City are doing well. They did have a tornado in Ponca last night.
Oh, they did. So there was a tornado.
There was one in Oklahoma. There was over 20. I saw an amazing video of Rochester, Minnesota. The rural area around there had a pretty sizable one, but it doesn't look like much damage done there. Although earlier in the week, Tulsa Hills, just 2 miles from my house, had a little bit of damage. And I'm thinking, you know what? You know who lives in that neighborhood right next to it? Our state insurance commissioner.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that that's all we had was the tornado here in Ponca City. I hope everyone was okay there.
Yeah.
And, you know, the one in Minnesota, as you said, that's kind of unusual. Tornadoes that far north.
This early. Yeah, they're a June month. And,
really?
and they actually have the most fatalities per tornado.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're stupid up there. They don't know how to.
Well,
I left there, but I was 18.
Is it that, or they have a larger concentration of people? You know, Oklahoma, for example. I asked our superintendent of education candidate, who I will introduce in a second. Most of you should know him by now. But anyway, my mind is all over the place.
You're talking about population density.
Oh yeah. I was checking the density of population and why Oklahoma insurance rates are so high. Mm-hmm. And what I found out, and I don't know if we've discussed this in the past, but for example, Texas has tornadoes and hurricanes, which we don't have, and hail, all the things we have, but they add hurricanes to it. Where I find out Texas has 32 million plus people living there. We have 4 million people in the whole state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I don't think they're 8 times the size geographically, but population, they're 8 times the size.
Right. So, and then I figured it out because insurance is based on sharing the risk among the number of people. And so when they have 8 times the population, then, and they're still pretty close to us, but Oklahoma is 3rd in the nation. We're behind Florida and Louisiana in insurance rates. We have the 3rd highest rates in the country. So anyway, hey, listen, without further ado, now that you got that little tidbit, news you couldn't use, I want to introduce our special guest again, a good friend of the program and us as well, Dr. John Cox, who is running for superintendent of education for the state of Oklahoma. Now, John, are you still principal? Are you still?
I am. I'm still superintendent.
Superintendent,
32
principal.
years.
Right. Yeah. So you do double duty.
Did you step back from, because you were wearing several hats in that school district?
I'm still superintendent principal, but not just me in that school. We all wear several hats.
Yeah.
And in our rural schools, that's the way it happens.
Yeah.
How large is your district?
We're about 86 square miles of hills, dirt roads, creeks, and we have about 180 students throughout that 80 square miles.
Wow. Yeah.
So we serve a strong population out there.
Yeah. Great hunting land out there.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. From my front porch.
Yeah.
From his front porch. Yeah, just
I've got some friends. I have a hunting shack up there in Beggs they go deer hunting.
Okay.
Or is it
Pegs?
Pegs, yes.
Yeah. We love our deer though.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah.
but anyway, welcome, John, once again.
Absolutely.
And this is your third?
This is actually my fourth time running.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I've seen the same thing as I've ran each time. We just have to do something for public ed. Right. And I just don't give up on that. I mean, public ed has really made my life great, and I need to give back to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, that we just don't stop. Why run 3 laps in a mile race and just give up? And we have a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah.
What you've got going for you now, I've talked to our legislators over there at the Capitol, and they're serious about, when Mississippi's embarrassing you with their success, you're embarrassed.
Yeah, it's not thank God for Mississippi anymore. Because we are in Mississippi's place.
Well, I thank God for them in this way, because if they can do it, there's no excuse why we can't.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And you, of course, John, have been championing this changes in our educational system and so forth for now, I guess, 12 years and maybe even more, and probably privately even before you started running.
Yeah.
And, it's not rocket science. This is, I don't know if I've given the example. I hate to always interject personal stuff, but this is all real. And I think I talked about our daughter who never went to American schools. She went to Dutch schools in Holland, and then we moved to Germany. She had to relearn a new language, and then came to America. And the funny thing is, in Germany, she was not even in the highest level, but she came to America, and she was the top English student in the school she went to. Wow. And the top English student in the 9th grade, she was 8th grader then, the 9th grade top student was a girl from Holland. So that neither one of them had ever attended an English-speaking or American school, yet they were the top English students. So this stuff about bilingual education and bringing in foreign students and having to teach in their language or learn this and this, no, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way kids are being taught. And that's the real issue. So how are you wanting to address that?
Well, I think right now teachers' hands are tied. And because we are really teaching scripted instruction just for a test at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so in my platform, it's a strong reading platform. And I'm excited about the legislature on their focus now, because I think I have the trust of those legislators, and I've been around long enough where I know them. And they know that they can work with me on whatever they get through. Now, we will have to look at the laws they pass and see how it really fits once it's put into public ed. For instance, the 3rd grade retention. Well, in my campaign, I'm saying pre-K through 5th grade, we need to focus on reading, because it's almost like once we get past 3rd grade, we go, well, they are what they are. And I want to really catch those children that are in the cracks after 3rd, going into 4th and 5th, really giving us 2 more years of laying that foundation for those kids. And forget about the end of the year test, because the 5th grade science test, it's really a reading test and knowing bars and graphs. It's not about science, so let's focus on that and foundational math. And I think that uplifts what we're doing. And really, that's a strong focus on getting us better. In my school and a lot of schools, we test prep for 2 to 3 months just so we can pass the test at the end of the year. So we're not doing new instruction. We're trying to just capture the instruction that we know is going to be on the test. And if you don't do it in this system, then you're going to have a bad grade at the end of the year, and you're going to look bad, and it's demoralizing when you get a C or D or a F. And so I want to get away from that and really focus on new instruction, give creativity back to our teachers, and let them teach new instruction.
It's been a few years, but I looked at test scores. They give a score to each school.
Yeah.
I think it's not school district, but school. In high schools, I think in the Tulsa metro area, which might be about 25% of the students in the state, only 2 schools made the top 100, and they barely did. Jinx and I think Bixby. So it was largely small town schools that did the best.
Yeah.
And you heard this narrative for the last 30 years, so have I. We got to consolidate school districts.
Yeah.
Was that the answer? I don't think so.
It's not.
Explain
It's
that.
not, because in our schools, they're individuals, and we have more individualized education. The bigger the system, the more kids that are in a class, the more you have to just teach to the script and hope that you can get them ready for the test at the end of the year. Frankly, we're not even sure that the end of the year test, like in reading, is really what we're teaching during the year, because we're not allowed to look at that test. We're not allowed to know what's on that test. We just hope the test measures what it's supposed to. If we're able to change that, which we are, to a growth test at the end of the year, that means everything we've taught during the year will be tested at the end. And it's no surprise to anybody. It's not going to be a high stakes test. It's just going to be, where are you at the end? And then we can truly see where we stand. Because when we start throwing out these 1/4 of the students can read and all those stats, in my mind, I'm going, are they real? Or what metric are they using to measure that? And I want a true measurement of where our kids are, and not just the whole population, but where an individual is. That's more important to a parent.
You said something that just now hit me for the first time. Whether the test is in history or the sciences, biology, whatever, math, problem solving, that test is, first of all, a reading test.
It is.
Because if you can't read, you fail the test,
right,
whatever the subject is.
Yeah, and you may know the content.
Yeah.
In science, because you did hands-on projects and things like that. But comprehending the question by reading is what they're really testing.
So you're saying you're not even able to see the test after the test.
You're not supposed to see the test ever.
Yeah. Well,
So
there's been cheating in some school districts.
You don't really even know
That's why.
What's on the test.
You don't know, except for they give you objectives and say these certain objectives will be tested. But you don't know to what length or where it's at or what specifically.
How it's styled or whatever
it is.
So who administers it if you don't get to see it?
We do, because you have to sign up and do proctor, not exams, but sign agreements that you will not do certain things, and you cannot know what's on that test.
So where's it coming from? Like they said, who?
Well, the State Department, actually the tests come from them, and they send those physically out to us to give. And we open the boxes on the day of the test when we hand them out.
Yeah.
And the State Department of Education, though, they don't make up the test, right?
It comes from a database out there. There's several test databases. And my kids are really good at it because we're great test preppers. And I told a group yesterday, I don't want a generation of test takers. I want a generation of critical thinkers and ones that we know can really think and do what they're supposed to do. Right now, to play the game, which that's not a popular phrase, but to play the game, you have to know how to take a test and pass that test. It's not about what you learned, and how do you rule out answers and critical things like that. And so we're good at test taking. Although in my school we're 33% special needs children, and we're right at 80% poverty. So we do a phenomenal job. In the last 2 years, we're top in our county in the way we score. But that shouldn't be what we gauge us at. We should be able to look at that one child and go, hey, they improved this far, and for their intellect, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we still have to test our special needs children, even though they might be ID, intellectual deficient. That means they have a 60 IQ or not, or lower. And they have to take the same test as all the other kids. You can waive 1%. So let's say you have 6 of those children. Which one are you going to pick to waive and take another test? And the other 5 have to log on and take the same test. So if they're on 8th grade level, or if they're an 8th grader and they're on a kindergarten level math because they're ID, they still have to take 8th grade math test.
That's
and
crazy.
If we don't test all 95% of our kids, our grade level gets lowered. So we have to test a certain amount. So what I'm saying out there, and special needs teachers will really tell you that this is the way it should be. You follow their IEP because they have the best educational plan there is. And If they're not getting growth based on the objectives on that, then you have a team with the parent come back and look and go, ask that question, why aren't they improving? Why isn't this working?
Okay, the IEP, that's an
individual education plan. And all across the state, your special needs children, all your teachers know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I made a mistake. My second child, we homeschooled all our kids all the way through. But I thought, we got this online learning. I think it was K1. And I thought maybe for senior year, I'll enroll them in that. And they asked me a question, does your child have an individualized education plan? I said, yeah, every homeschooler does.
Yes. And
they said, we're not set up to handle, and she was tongue-tied. I said, you mean special needs kids? And she says, well, yeah, some call it that. It's a political correctness.
Yes.
I said, no. I said, I don't use your jargon. When you're homeschooled, your kid's education is individualized. Yeah. That's code word in your industry for special needs.
And that's why homeschooling is the best education you can receive if you have parents that are concerned about their child and can deliver it. And we have great homeschool families out there.
Yeah.
But these children on IEPs, and I've spoke about this for 10 years, it is a shame that they have to know that they're not going to pass a test and have to take the test and they fail. If we can use IEP as a gauge of growth, we can celebrate any growth that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to do that because that's just going to empower that child. And they're already struggling in the first place.
Okay.
And so that's a population nobody really talks about. And I've been chastised in the past from the other campaigns about going, you can't say that. You can't say that you're going to use their IEP to gauge their growth, but that's what we do.
Right, right.
And it's common sense. And so I guess since it wasn't common sense, that's why we've never been to it. But I want to know what each child is doing, not a whole classroom or the state. I want to know what each child across the state is doing. And we focus that hard on what we're doing. We're going to lift us from 50 to 25 in 2 years. I have been promising that to all the groups I've been talking about. When I'm elected, within 2 years, we will be 25th in the nation.
Wow.
And it's because I know the metrics on how to get there. The National Assessments of Educational Progress, that's NAEP, and they're the ones that 4th through 8th graders take the test every year randomly. Less than 3% of our kids across the state take that test, and we're judged based upon that 3% on our ranking. And so I know how to work with that to be able to improve those tests, because you all know if a test arrives at your school and the teacher's made to go give that test to the kids, the teacher's not motivated. The student's not motivated because they go, this is another test. It's just another thing on the plate of the teacher. And so there's no motivation to do well. And it's the same thing with ACT in high school. You all probably know that before we made every junior take it, we were 2 points above the national average ACT because those students were focused on going to college and using that ACT. When we made everybody do it, we dropped 2 below. Mm-hmm. And so there's no responsibility for doing well on a test. There's no consequences. So students in high school, they can do anything they want to on that ACT, and they can play dot to dot on there. And so if they're not going to use it, they don't care about it, and they just want to get through it. Mm-hmm. But then your kids that are scoring the 30s and 32s that I interview every year for scholarships, they're focused on doing well on that test. And we have those kids everywhere. Okay. But I want to bring common sense back. And that 20% that go to college, I want them to take that ACT.
When you were last in here, we talked about some of the things, the initiatives that you as a superintendent tried to do, sharing resources with neighboring school districts. And that, because one thing you can't do is change the size and scope of your school district. You get given the population, the geography you have. At the state level, somehow there is the ability. And what I'm telling you here now, I hope this is something you're able to do as superintendent. There's an area of just outside of Tulsa. It's actually in Osage County, that developers are buying up land because we're building a loop, an expressway loop there. But nobody's building yet because Tulsa Public Schools is assigned the school district of that. Rolling Oaks, beautiful area.
Yeah.
And now my son has a house just north enough that his kids would be in Sperry School District if he's in it. But what is the process by which a neighborhood or people can say, we're sick of the school district we're in, we're underserved, and just 3 miles away is a much better school district?
Well, and that has basically been solved, because even though they may live in Tulsa Public, with open transfer, if the capacity is there for them to go to the other school, they're automatically in.
What happens to their property tax dollar?
Well, the property tax dollar will stay in the school district within that boundary. So that's the other thing. But once that, and of course that goes right to the school, but the equalization formula in the state aid formula, that allows for, like, if that ad valorem goes to that school district, it offsets the state aid that's coming. And so really at the state level, the state aid formula equalizes that across the districts. So there might be more ad valorem here and they get less state aid, but over here, they might get more state aid because they're a poor district. My district's a poor district. We get very low ad valorem, so we get higher state aid from that. But that's pretty well being fixed.
It is, except a school district doesn't have, they can say we're full.
They can fix their capacity levels really low,
which
some do, so that they can stay in certain classifications for athletics.
Yeah,
I mean that's been known across the state.
That's the important subject in the state.
That's been known to happen across the state. But if they lower it too low, then you can petition the state board, and they can look at their capacity, because every quarter we have to put on there how many kids we can allow into each grade level.
Okay, so in this case, maybe the Realtors Association or builders, home builders, that could petition the state school board to say, hey, this doesn't belong in TPS or whatever, this area that's in Osage County, just outside of Sand Springs. Should be in Anderson, Sperry, or Sand Springs.
Yeah. I don't know if they can actually petition to change the land and put the land over into another school district that they sit. I think there is a process for that. I've been involved with schools going out and consolidation of schools, and knowing and being a part of the process where you assign that school district to different districts. So I've been a part of that. Yeah,
like when Pocola closed, that was one.
Yeah, and then there's a process for assigning portions of their district to the other districts.
The final say goes with the Department of Education.
It does.
Yeah.
Hey, let me throw this, because this is a topic that's been going on now for several years, too many years if you ask me, and that's EPIC. And what is your opinion, first of all, of EPIC, and what have you seen going on to bring us to where we are?
Sure, and that brings out a whole nother set of questions too. I've always believed that 3 to 5% of your students are those ones that need schools like EPIC, those virtual schools, because they're self-motivated, they have strong support at home, and they need to have that for them. And it could be anxiety levels at school. It could be they participate in gymnastics across the nation, and they need that virtual school. I think for the majority of your kids, though, they need to have a teacher in front of them to help motivate. So motivation is the whole key to that answer.
Right.
And I think that option is very vital. I think EPIC has tried really hard to kind of hone in on what their real specific job is and to help those kids. I hear great stories from individual families that are in EPIC. But I think there's also, when there's money involved, there's also time for abuse at some point of the use of that money. And so small schools, we're really good at knowing the dollar. And really it goes down to the penny. And, so when you hear things about Tulsa, they're still looking for $30 million. I'm going, how do you lose $30 million? Because my budget's right at $3 million.
Wow.
And we watch everything, even to the point of, can we hire this person or not hire this person? Can we get another teacher or not? Can we hire a custodian or not? Can you fix a bus or an air conditioner? What's your choice? Those are the things that we look at.
Well,
so let me just, I'm still on the same thought. So essentially, you're not threatened by charter schools or online charter. Your answer to that is to take the public schools and bring them up to a level where people choose you as their primary choice, because you're not failing. You're not failing the student, not the parents, not the state, not anyone. And you want to make it attractive to, for full disclosure, I am not a private school guy. I really feel public school is the best means for children to grow up in every way, not just because, as you know, it's not just academics. To social education and knowing how to interact with people and so forth is very important. So, but anyway, I'm very happy to hear from you that you're not threatened by Epic, or that you're not on a mission to close online charter schools or anything.
And what you're saying is extremely important, because our parents need choice. I believe in school, even though I'm 40 years public ed, I'm a school choice person, because if you go through Tulsa and Oklahoma County, you see a lot of parents who need that choice. And charter schools are public schools. So there is still accountability through them. So even all your virtual Epic, they're all public schools. And so even as far to say the private schools, homeschooling, like we talked about, every parent should have a choice what best fits their child. But what you're saying is what I've been saying all across the state is I have to work so hard that public school is the choice.
Right.
And that when a papa like me who has little grandbabies in a Christian daycare and school, I need to be confident to tell my kids that, hey, take them to public school. They'll be safe and they're going to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been telling everybody, is that I have to work extremely hard to make it great for my babies, and it'll help all 700,000. And by the way, since last time I've been here, I think 18 days ago, I had a grandson.
All right.
And so they named him Cameron John Cox.
There you go.
So for another 90 years, we're going to have a John Cox.
Or by the time he grows up, he'll be CJ.
Well, they said no, they're going to call him Cameron because they're Dukies, or they're Duke fans.
Yeah.
But, I have to make it better for their generations. And so it's a passion of mine. And I just tell people that's how hard I'm going to work to make public school the choice. Yes, if you want to take them to the others, that's perfectly fine. But let's work so hard that we improve public schools, and we've got to do a great public relations campaign, because right now everything about us is bad.
One of the things that Byron Schlomack used to head up a think tank called the 1889 Institute. And there's probably no other subject that he worked on more than public education in Oklahoma. He went through every part of a public school and he looked at the federal regulations. And he showed all the requirements. And I said, no wonder it costs so much. It's compliance with federal mandates.
Right.
That was a big part of it. Now, I'm hoping that changes here with block granting money and closing up the federal department. But here's where I'm going with that. He dispelled the myth of consolidating, because the simple mind thinks, if you just get more, then you can spread the cost of running a district over more kids. The cost per kid drops. He said, once your school district has more than 10,000 students, not in the school district. He said the average administrative expense jumps $1,000 per kid. So he says that sweet spot is actually well below 10,000. And I read another federal, association of school superintendents that said the sweet spot's more around 4,000 or 5,000. And now you're having to deal with just 180, and you got to run all these fixed expenses divided by only 180. That's why I'd like to see that consolidation sweet spot and break up the big school districts like TPS.
Well, one thing, if I can just add to that, I'm not going to ask your opinion, put you on a spot like that, but let's take Broken Arrow, where they have one high school with 6,000 students, or
the largest in the state
and growing,
as a high school.
Probably in the world.
Second largest in America.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Last I looked at it.
Does your office have any influence in that, or is that purely a local issue?
That is purely a local issue. And we can give support, resources to that. there's so much goes into, because the discussion for years is, can we take Broken Arrow and make 2 high schools? Just like they did in Norman with the 3 different high schools there. More.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but then you have other politics coming in, and they have probably the number 1 band in the nation. And so that is a political thing that goes into their choice of splitting schools. But that is a purely local decision. And, and your comment on, like, it's economy of scale. And so we've done studies on, if we did pure consolidation, would it save money? Very little money, if any, would be saved. And I've had groups, because I speak in these groups, that say, well, why don't we have a county superintendent for every school? And so we narrow it down to 77 superintendents. But what I say is, do you want to add another layer of bureaucracy to that? Because are you going to pay one more person per county? Because I'm still going to be on my side. You have to have the person on site. And in small schools, like we said, we wear so many hats that we're able to have economy of scale. And so the larger you get, the more you have to have one more person to do something else.
Right.
And you even said it, you need to break the largest systems down before you can be truly effective. Sometimes it's too big.
It is. And that's why I'm saying it's kind of like the Laffer curve when you're studying taxes and policy on national level. There's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Too much is not optimal. Too little is not optimal. Because the reason I'm saying this, John, when you talk about what you can save in that, there are things that a bigger school district could offer kids for their enrichment that you just can't at your scale. And so parents are kind of looking for that. And that's somewhat cultural. A rural school district is going to spend more on FFA and ag related stuff, and should.
Yes.
So to do the kinds of things that caters to your community and what's important.
But that culture with ag, and like I said, I get to interview these students at the end of the year for scholarships. The majority are the ones that come out of there as great speakers and leaders coming out of ag and those FFA programs. They're quality people. And really all we want to do for K-12 is help have the opportunity to be a great person and have the tools to go exceed after high school's over. So no matter where you're at on what you're doing, if ag is it, that teaches responsibility and all the characteristics that you need to succeed in life. And so I it's just different all across the state. I'll be swinging down and going through Elk City and all the way down through Sayre and through Altus and Lawton in the next 3 days. It's all different. The mindset's all different throughout the state on how they can help a child. But the focus is foundation and just get them prepared to be able to do what they want to do. The opportunity to become who they want to be. Now, a lot of people say my school's really small, but I have a great community out there, 80-something square miles. If you consolidate my school into another school, which you could, then I'm going to have babies on the bus. But let's say they say, well, we're not going to get rid of your site. Well, you're still going to have me there to take care of the site.
There's no guarantee. The new school district board will decide what to do with your campus.
And historically, get rid of them after 2 years.
They do.
And so, do my people want to go drive into Tahlequah 15 miles and complain to them about something? They can come and see me face to face and we can fix it.
Yeah.
And that's my skill set. I mean, that's why I'm going to love being the state superintendent, because I can sit right here and have great discussions on how to fix what's going on and what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And you may not agree with me at all, but we're going to have a great discussion and I'm going to learn from you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done for 32 years. And you can't be in a small community and not learn those skills on how to navigate and take care of people.
Yeah. To Eddie's point about Broken Arrow, they did announce that they were going to move to 3 campuses. And then they started that process and it's like, oh my God, we just got our first gold ball trophy for football in how many years? And now that's their mentality. It's all about that trophy case. My thing is, every one of those kids you develop is a trophy. And if you can only put 11 guys on the field at one time versus 33 if you split up into 3 schools, how many trophies do you want? They're turning down trophies.
Yeah, you're still going to have
the
quality.
Children are the trophies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the second string from those schools are as quality as anywhere else.
I tell you, one guy, he was looking at scholarships and he got hurt his junior year. Didn't get to finish out. Senior year, he thought, I'm supposed to get my starting spot back. He didn't get it. The scholarships didn't materialize. They have guys on the sideline who could get college scholarships if they could get high school playing time. That's the thing. They're putting their institution ahead of the children that they're mandated to serve. Period.
And that's why I love rural schools.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the child. And I'm not going to say that the bigger systems aren't, but it's massive, and it becomes more about numbers. Ours is more about family and environment and how can we help you succeed?
Yeah. To quote Garrison Keillor about my hometown area, all the women are strong, the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.
I remember years ago going over to, I think it was Pawnee, and to a football game. It was a JV game. But it's funny, actually, Union was playing Pawnee's varsity, so it's the junior varsity of Union playing the varsity. But it was funny, then halftime comes, and the band lines up, and football players are in the band. Mm-hmm. And so it was just weird seeing, because the Tulsa schools, as we talked about, BA, Jenks, Union, even Owasso, in the mix, they pride themselves on having these great bands, and they're going to the Rose Bowl parade or the Orange Bowl, and that's a big sense of pride. But these kids they just want to play instrument and they want to play football. And so you see a guy, a 250-pound guy, in his pads. The only thing they take off is the football helmet.
I was that kid.
Really?
I was the one playing the trombone with the football uniform on. And nobody knows that. But
they know now.
Yeah. See, here's the problem with the big, and I know we're picking on Broken Arrow, and you know what, they deserve it, but you could also put Union, Jenks, Owasso, Bixby, all them in the same thing, is in order to get that starting spot, the kid ends up being a one-sport student. And it's a whole year. It's about keeping that one spot. I was a two-sport athlete, and I wasn't that great an athlete. A lot of the better athletes were three-sport athletes, and I think it makes a more well-rounded person.
I do have to say that back when Bill Blankenship was there, they had several kids that were now you can only play the one sport in the fall or whatever,
right?
But several of them ran track, and then they played soccer.
Yeah.
So you did have multi-sport athletes. You can't just say they were one-sport athletes.
I'm saying the pressure is very much there.
Well, yeah, but that's anything. You're always going to have the pressure to excel in one sport or another. And a lot of times the parents don't see the value in being a baseball player. In fact, for example, the starting receiver, the star receiver at Union back in 72, he ends up being a baseball player, gets a baseball scholarship at Arkansas.
Yeah.
So you do have kids playing.
Spring and fall. And that with my middle son, who is an athlete, he played tennis and played football. Right. It's hard to play football and then basketball, or football and then wrestling, because they overlap.
Mm-hmm. But I think you said a while ago, the advantage of our larger systems is they're able to offer more different things, a variety of things for our students.
Particularly your high school programs, the specialty programs.
But I have way down south, on the school site, they're building an airplane. Mm-hmm. Down in where was I? It wasn't Ardmore. It was down south, but they get a kit. They build that for aeronautics. Yeah. And so those students are learning the mechanics of it, and then they're also learning everything it takes to fly one of those.
Yeah,
things.
That's in Carter County. They have 9 school districts. I studied that very much. And see, there's one where you don't send any more kids into Ardmore. They've already got 6,000. They're capped, okay? Yep. And Davison's another one. You leave them alone. But those other 7, you consolidate rural with rural voluntarily. First, do it voluntary. Grease the wheels with plenty of money for that. I know Kyle Lovelace worked on that when he was in the Senate. Yeah. Is that, let's encourage, make sure money's not the reason they don't look at consolidation.
Yeah. And that has been put out there.
Yeah.
But I think communities are so strong that they're side by side and they're completely 100% different from each other.
Yeah.
And so it has to be their choice to do that.
And let's look at the social factor of it. These small towns, their identity is at school.
Well, it's
those Friday night games are the biggest community gatherings out there on the football field.
And people, once you say that, they go, well, that in the city, they say that really doesn't matter. But that is the flavor of Oklahoma.
Rural Oklahoma.
It is. And rural Oklahoma is 80% of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It is. So what are we going to do? Are we going to kill that? Because it's like you said, once a school consolidates with another, eventually the one who gets them dissolves the others. And they're not dissolving a school. They're dissolving a community.
Yeah, but as an assistant with the NOAA homeschool football program, I went to Vian. I went to Panama. I saw what it's like. I saw what it means. Muldrow, Stillwell, those are incredible communities.
It is, absolutely.
Hey, John, we have concentrated a lot on your professional background and so forth. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? So you were born here in Oklahoma.
Well, actually, Mom and Dad were born here in Oklahoma, and they were part of the movement out to California back, I don't know, in the 40s.
Oh, the Dust Bowl.
Yeah. And so my dad was a Church of Christ preacher, and Mom had 7 of us, and I was actually born in California, and my little brother was. And so
you're number what?
I'm number 6 of 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be here. And so when I was 3, my dad actually slipped and fell off of a house, and fainted and fell off the house and broke the bottom of his skull.
Ooh.
And so for 10 days, he laid on the table and with everybody praying for him. And so after that, we moved back to Oklahoma. And my dad was also, you remember the polio epidemic back in
the 50s.
Yeah. So he was one of the children that laid in Oklahoma City on a table for 14 days with no movement. And so that was at 14 years old. So I am very fortunate and blessed to be here. But my dad, he's a big man, 6'7", 230, big man. But they moved back here and we moved to Stillwell, and we ran the Stillwell Cafe. And so I bust tables, I mopped floors, I washed dishes, ran the cash register, so that's kind of how I learned a little bit about work ethic and really what my mom and dad, running a restaurant that is the hardest job, because you're going 12, 14 hours a day, depending on people to come into your restaurant and eat.
Yeah.
They had a great business.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate to grow up in Stillwell, destemmed a lot of strawberries there and did that thing.
Strawberry Festival.
But then they retired, but they went to work on the lake in Grand Lake, and I graduated from Jay there as valedictorian, class president, student council, vice president. And what I tell people is it's not important that I was, but that's an important part of my life, because that really brought me out of my shell and taught me some leadership skills. Yeah. And that I think that kind of promoted the things I do now. Even being in your book and newspaper, those things helped me with those skills and how to communicate. And so graduated there from Jay as valedictorian, and then graduated from NEO A&M up in Miami, and then started my family and graduated Northeastern State, who I love. Got my bachelor's and master's there. And I just love the rural. I mean, I've been in Eastern Oklahoma all my life.
Okay. I got a question. It goes to the culture of public education. Like 90% of the faculty got some kind of liberal arts education. Went to regular college, not a trade school. It's very hard to get your teaching certificate if you don't go that traditional route.
To do your intern, like go to Northeastern and do your internships and go that route.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's easier now, but I've even advised some people that were in college, get your degree, and if you're a good teacher, we will help you become a teacher. Right.
What I'm getting at here is a lot of the kids, especially you go to a rural community, a lot of them eventually will likely end up in some kind of trade. Right. If they're doing well, if they
And I'm excited about that.
Right. And Ryan Thomas, Ryan Walters, is another one who said, look, you got a chance to go to welding school in 2 years while somebody's still spending gobs amount of money on getting their liberal arts. You're getting paid $100,000 to do underwater welding, on oil derricks. Yeah. And he had some real life examples of his own students. And what I'm saying is, how can we change it so that the role models our kids are exposed to are helping them understand the trades as well as the liberal arts education or the sciences?
Okay, so I'm excited about this conversation because this is the third component of what I talk about everywhere.
Yeah.
80% of our students choose not to go to college or finish. And
that's in your district?
No, that's across the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people, and business people love this too, because they have the same mind focus. So I want every student, that all those 80%, to walk across the graduation stage and also have a certificate in some trades area. Because the average coming out of high school, 19-year-old who has a trade certification, is $62,000 a year. The average 4-year degree is $54,000, and you have debt, like you were talking about, coming out of it. So I'm going to do a massive public relations campaign to really entice those children and put value to trades. Mike Rowe has been doing these commercials across the state about how important petroleum is and those jobs. And so I want to do something similar to make those children feel valued. But the beauty of all this is probably half of those 80% are the ones who are going to be truant. They don't want to be in school. They're going to create mischief. They're going to do all the things because there's no purpose for them to be there.
Exactly.
And when I talk to all these audiences about, hey, if a child likes to work on cars, we need to let them work on cars in high school.
Yes.
And because every one of you needs a mechanic at some time, and they're all nodding their heads. They need plumbers, electricians.
They're not interested in Longfellow's Evangeline and all those classes. I mean, they're great works, but if that's not your direction for providing for a family.
Yeah, give them purpose.
Yeah.
And I think I can value that. I'm one of the people back 20 years ago that said everybody needs to go to college.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that to my kids.
We all did.
I learned from experience that is not true.
Yeah.
I really think that we need to value a child's decision to go into carpentry or go into cosmetology. All these other things we use.
Your chef.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you say that my route out of poverty was going to college and earning the degrees, and I can do that. I mean, I can go to school.
50 years ago, that was real.
Yeah, but we still should have focused on these students who,
right.
And we have to have good tradespeople. There are shortages in electricians and plumbers, and they're making, oh my goodness, $80, $90 an hour at least, and a great wage. And I want quality people.
Right. But you get people who are the mentors of these kids who it's just natural to say, do what I did. And if all you've got is liberal arts people on your faculty, they're missing a component of opportunity.
That's why we catch them in high school.
Yeah.
And that's why we really start saying, hey, we need this electrician. Is that something that interests just doing the airplane like they're doing down south in Durant? That
I was going to say Durant. Yeah.
They're actually building one, and they're excited about that.
Cool.
And after they build it, they're going to sell it, and then they're going to buy another one. And so why not promote that?
But if a high school has an electrical engineering program, they're better off with the guy who's been a master electrician for 40 years coming in off the workforce. I think they're going to get a better education from a guy who's had hands-on instead of some guy who just has a teaching certificate and who knows what his degree at a college
should have those mentorships. And really, what you just said is what they're doing in the tech schools.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I mean, when you go there, you're having professionals teaching these students how to do certain things. And I talked to one of the campus directors, and what she told me is they can go in the 2 months that they're not working. They have 10-month contracts and make as much as they do in the other 10 months. And so they can find those people to actually come in and work.
If we didn't have the tech schools, we'd have a greater high school dropout.
Absolutely. Levels. And we're number one in the nation with our tech schools.
Yeah.
They're that good, but there's caps on the amount of kids that can go in there.
I know.
And
So
we have to
more.
solve that problem.
That has to be solved.
So I want to get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of like that.
Got my wonk here. I want to get back to, so we heard of how you went, your education, you're growing up. I want to know, how'd you meet your wife?
Well, okay. So, Rhonda, we've been married 32 years and we met from mutual friends. And of course she was from Adair and I was from Jay, and we're rivals, so.
You met in school?
No, we actually met, she was working at Rogers State University and I was a coach at Locust Grove at the time. And so that's when we met, and we have a blended family. I just say we have 5 together and we raise them since they're little. And that's where we have our 7 grandchildren now that came out of that. And then we're going to have another one in July, a little granddaughter. So excited about that. But yeah, we met and we've just been good for each other. When you're trying to work your way up and trying to make a living, and so I'm just eternally grateful for her because, sometimes I'm not easy to live with. And I just think she's the backbone of our family. And
I remember when she ran for legislature 10 years ago.
It's been a while, but
sidetracked.
I think you're blessed when you don't get things. And really, it's the same when I ran before. I am a much better candidate and much better state superintendent now because I think experience means everything. And even 8 years of experience further makes you a better person. And plus, I know the players all across the state, and I know who you can trust and who you can't trust. And Rhonda is Cherokee, and so she has those values with her too. And strong. She's a strong woman. And so we had a year-long discussion before I ran for this because it's not it was we run for this. And, so there had to be a total commitment, and it's extremely hard on a family. And so that's why, because it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to take hits and people are going to say very untrue things. And, and just in the last week, we reached over 2.1 million people on our digital in the last 10 days. We've only had about 30 nasty people come back on there, the basement warriors, I call them, but she saw in me that this is something we need to do. And she backs me on that. Would she rather me just be there sitting on the front porch and playing with the grandkids? Absolutely. Because we're at that time in our life. But I was extremely fortunate to find her.
Now, you threw in there that you were coaching at Locust Grove.
I was.
Football or basketball?
No, I am. Okay, so
you're stereotyping, of course.
Yeah,
as big as you are, it had to be basketball or football.
So in Jay back in the '80s, they had the powerhouse. They were those and Adair, and so and that's why I said Jay and Adair are always rivals, but we always beat Adair from Jay. But I interned there under girls basketball, girls athletics. I got my first job at Wyandotte, and I was 7th through 12th grade athletics coach. All
different sports.
Yeah, all girls athletics. And then I went back to Jay and was privileged to work in there because they had already won a state championship, and we went 57-0 until we lost in the state championship the next year. So it was me. I was the only change in the system, but it was a privilege because I learned work ethic. I learned what it takes to accomplish what you do. And then I was proud to move over to Locust Grove, where the Adair coach, who was assistant there, came over and he was head coach, and he brought me to Locust Grove. And so I spent 2 years there coaching, and we were number 1 in state at times. And he had the same mindset because the brothers, the Adair coach and the J coach, were brothers. So they were rivals too. So that's where I get my competitives. I hate to lose. So you ought to know about the elections. If I'm in an election, I'm going to be as competitive and as strong as I can.
Sure. No, let's move on. How about your children? You have 5?
I do.
And boys, girls, what do they do?
We have 3 boys, 2 girls. And one daughter lives in Florida. And she has my 8th grader that I talk about sometimes about dyslexia and how you overcome that. and what you can do. And great story, because if you do the right programs, and now she's a phenomenal reader, because we were able to figure out what's going on. And so, and my grandson, he is a weightlifter in Concordia University up by Lincoln, Nebraska, and just placed 6th nationally this last week. And just so proud of the person he's becoming. And then I got my babies right here, and about 2 miles from here, my little granddaughter, I stopped by and saw her a while ago. She's a little bit over 1. And then out here in Coweta, I've got my other 4 and grandbabies.
So when did the last one leave the nest for you? Finish high school?
The youngest one, which has my grandbabies in Coweta, he is 36 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
about 15 years ago.
That makes me seasoned.
Yeah. Well, not as seasoned as me.
Yeah. But that's a change in life for you guys.
I am so proud of my daughter, who has the granddaughter over here. She's a nurse, and she's the one that's expecting the other one for me in July.
Nice.
Another granddaughter. So, my daughter in Florida, she's a online banker, does commercial banking. And so, and then her husband works for the Department of Defense as a contractor. We don't even know what he does. It's one of those jobs
he could tell us, but he'd have to shoot us.
He would, absolutely.
Those jobs,
So I'm proud of him, because that's overseas stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just proud of my kids. I was telling Rhonda yesterday, we're really proud of where they've gotten themselves to, and we can be proud of that.
Well, which you can be proud of as well. And this is one reason I wanted to bring that up, because the way you've been able to raise your kids and see them succeed is a part of helping other kids succeed.
Yeah.
Because you've lived through it, you know how it's done, and you want to share that with others. And that's why I was trying to get
even their struggles, because I have a couple that struggle.
Right.
I have 3 that are extremely do a great job, and then I have so at times they struggle, but I can learn from that. And it's like I said, I thought they all should go to college and finish college and do that thing, and that's just not how it works.
No, but, I think we all like that, because but that's what we were sold. And growing up, I was the first one in my family on both sides. My mom only went through the 9th grade and so forth. But anyway, and neither my dad or his brother or anybody else had ever been to college, but it was like I never had an option. I just always knew I'm going to college. That was the only way out. Exactly. Yeah. And so, I don't want to go into myself, but anyway, you're right. It's not for everyone. That's not the path for everyone.
So I have a brother that's a retired superintendent. I have a brother-in-law that's a retired superintendent. I have a couple of great uncles that are superintendents, and I have 2 uncles that are superintendents. They're all retired, gone, but I also have 2 of my sisters are teachers.
Wow.
Then I have 2 of my sister-in-laws were teachers. And then I have several nieces and nephews that are teachers in education, and I have to take care of that profession.
Did your wife ever do any teaching?
Oh, she would tell you no.
Yeah.
Because she knows how tough the classroom is. And
sure.
And so, and she retired this last year, but she works at the office a little bit with us. And so she helps kids with Band-Aids and getting them on the right buses and the right cars.
Nice.
and taking care of those things. And
to sum up everything we've discussed today, what do you think, what is your major objective and hurdles that you have to cross, assuming you win and you're the new superintendent? How do you propose we go from 49th or 50th to the mid-20s?
And the plan's there, and we are going to do it within 2 years, like I mentioned. And day one, we can really emphasize the phonics across the state. The science of reading, and put the resources into it, the training that needs to be, and make sure all schools are benchmarking their kids, because we're finding out schools don't really benchmark.
Okay,
so not all schools.
So that's going to end up looking like some serious crash course retraining made available to school districts for their early elementary teachers, right?
I would say somewhat crash course, because like in my school, all of our teachers pre-K through fifth and special ed, they're trained in the science of reading.
Right.
And
but you got to make sure it's available to everybody.
You have to,
Yeah.
and it's costly.
Yeah.
Because to do that training, it's about $10,000 and about 2 weeks worth of intensive training. But what I found out, like my teachers, they'll come to me and go, I am really glad that I took that, because that allowed me one more way to help a child.
Yeah.
And that's the way teachers are across state. There's exceptions, the 2 to 3% who, shouldn't be in our business. The majority really want to figure out how we can help kids. And so if I can put that focus in and have all of us doing it.
Yeah.
And actually benchmarking and knowing where kids are, because as I'm finding out, some schools, and like I said, don't benchmark. If you don't benchmark, you don't know where a child is on that day. And so that day one, and then foundational math, times tables, fractions, decimals to percents, those things through fifth grade. I mean, a strong foundation in just regular math.
Yeah.
And day one on that, and then a public relations campaign on focusing on the good things we're doing in schools.
Do you remember, this goes way back, the 60s, SRA Distar did a good phonics program. As a new homeschooling dad, four-year-old son, my oldest, I picked it up at a homeschool book fair. It just said, teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons, and it takes 20 minutes a night. And you know what? Within 100 days, my 4-year-old was reading second grade level.
Oh, I believe that.
Now, not every kid is ready for his brain to develop like that.
Yeah.
Some things are outside, because I know the next
support
kid,
at home.
Huh?
Or the support at home.
Yeah. But here's the point. If your kid is ready to develop, I want to put a plug in parents. You can make the difference. Just sit down for 20 minutes with your kid.
Yeah.
Each night.
Well, and if you watch my little 1-year-olds, they know to take a book and change the pages.
Yeah. And
just by doing that and putting their finger on the words, they don't know what they're doing, but that is the first step to read.
But that's a big part of the expense. If we're going to turn this around, the Mississippi Miracle, is you've got to have the staff so kids have someone to listen to them read.
Right. Now, the state, in the new reading law that they're passing, I think they've tried to put in there 20 reading coaches from the State Department of Ed. I really want to reverse that and train your own, like what we do, because they did this 15 years ago and had reading coaches, and we really viewed them as almost spies coming in to see what we were doing wrong. So they weren't really accepted as outsiders coming in. So you really have to go and home grow your own people to do this. But we have those educators. Every school has those educators who can do that.
What about the sociological hurdles? So, for example, I remember years ago, we were trying to get the situation where you had your online school through a church, where because in North Tulsa, for example, just an example, you can't expect those parents to sit there with the kids or they don't have the discipline or they don't care. So they put them all in a church.
And that's everywhere.
Right. Oh, yeah. But so how do you deal with that aspect? Parents that aren't engaged in their child's education. Is there something you can do to support that?
We had a conversation yesterday, and finally I just had to say we take them at the door as they are. Because numerous times in this campaign I said if I had a magic wand and it could cure the family, we wouldn't have to have these conversations. We could be doing our job and working with them. So we have to take them exactly right where they are.
Right.
And I heard one governor's candidate last night, and it was interesting because he said we need to start at 2 and 3-year-old and 4 so we can have them ready by kindergarten. There's a big pushback on that, by the way, but he's saying we need better daycares and have those kids in daycares. I'm more family. There's a lot of families that say that I don't want to send mine yet because I want them with me till they're 5 or 6 years old, because 6 is the mandatory age.
Yeah, because that was a backhanded indictment against families and how you expect to get elected governor when you talk like that.
Well, and that was actually said, and I could say strengthening the daycares that the kids are already in to have those components in there. But if we could just get parents to read from birth till 4 with their child. That's significant difference.
Get grandpas and grandmas.
But it can't be a forced. It has to be a promoted thing. And then if you can get books in their homes. But I'll just tell you, so many parents are so tired after they work an 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift, that they come home and with some of the new stuff that we're trying to send home, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, they're struggling with showing that to the kids. The new math that they have, I always wondered why we had new math, because
the old math worked fine with us.
Because a math company wanted to make some money.
Oh,
thank you. Yeah, because
because
that is a big part of it. Is a lot of the money that gets spent goes to the curriculum companies, and they play games with you. Yeah. I mean, college textbooks. Why are they so stinking expensive? You know, it's a racket.
But I love what you said, though, because if we can cure the family, and really I put that responsibility on churches and communities to help with those families. But there are so many that are struggling out there. And really all you have to do is get on a school bus and ride the school bus around and see what they bring to the school with them. You know, and so it makes me work harder to help that child once we have them in our arms, you know. So so that is the cure, if we can do that. And we have we all have responsibility for that, to help the families.
If a kid really felt loved, it would make a big difference. It comes down to loving your kids.
It does. And I think that's what our teachers do a great job of when we get kids, and our support staff that we have. We love our children. We make them family, and at least they know during that time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's extremely sad if you really know, and if you live in this world. And I think that's what gives me valuable experience going in there, because I have that empathy and I have that understanding.
Yeah.
We don't let a child use their life, their livelihood or whatever as an excuse. Mm-hmm. What they bring to school, we don't let them use that as an excuse, but we understand it.
Yeah.
But that's got to be the conversation going on. And I think our churches are really trying to do that. I mean, so.
John, to wrap things up here today, if you would like to just give a closing statement or wrap things up.
Oh, yeah.
Please feel free to speak to our audience.
Absolutely will. So I hope that you gain trust in me, but I want you to see someone who has vast amount of experience, not just 40 years, but someone who has seen everything that can be done in public schools and has learned and experienced that, and being able to make decisions. And then also the training that I have fits what we need in that office. And frankly, the other 6 that are running do not have what I have as experience or training. And I don't want them to be my boss. So if I don't want them to be, then I need to work so hard that I am in that position to take care of our kids across the state. And I always sign off saying this: we can make education great again. I think that's a conservative statement that says we can work hard if we do it all together. And then all you got to do is check the box for Cox.
Yeah, we've got the first edition signs. I can't get these anymore.
No, you can't.
What does the new one say again?
Check the box for Cox.
Check the box for Cox.
It just says Cox on there. And when you go to the poll, now, don't just check it because they'll kick it out. You got to fill in the blank. So I've been told that. But check the box for Cox.
Don't take your chances.
Well, John, thank you so much again.
I got to ask now, there are 2 legislators running.
They are.
And then who else is running besides you and the 2 legislators?
Well, there was a gentleman out here in Sand Springs, and he was encouraged by the one at Bixby to run. So he came into the deal the last week before and it's too late, basically, to get across the state. I'll just say that out loud. And then you have 2 others who jumped in the Friday that we did. I had no idea who one was, but the other gentleman ran last time, and I love him. We were on TV together having a forum. His flip phone rang after they told us not to have him on. It took him at least 20 seconds to get in the bag to turn it on. And I loved it because it brought back the reality of what we were trying to do. So that's another one. And then there's a preacher out in Norman that's running, and he ran against Tom Cole 4 times.
Okay. So, yeah, I know James Taylor.
There you go.
I know James.
Yeah, so I don't say names.
Yeah.
But
no, I understand.
But before those 3 jumped in, I looked at having 50 plus 1.
Yeah.
Honestly, as hard as I've worked and everybody else around me has.
Sure.
But inevitably, that word. So that's another 4 or 5 syllable word.
Yes.
And
yes.
so
inevitably, I just had to say, I just had to say that I could say it.
Show off.
No, I'm sitting here myself struggling. I've got to get it out. Right? I never,
Okay, so how many total candidates then?
7 of
Seven?
us. If now there's still a possibility, and one of them is challenging another's candidacy
At the Supreme Court.
At the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and then it'll be a constitutional issue. When she challenged there, it was more of an election issue. And so then if it goes to the Supreme Court, it becomes more about Constitution and what can be allowed there. I don't know how it goes. My view was I'm going to win.
Check the box for Cox.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't care who's running.
Okay, the breakdown is 7 candidates. How many Republicans?
7 Republicans.
And no Democrats in this?
There are 2 Democrats, but we're
okay.
I already have that Democrat beat 60-40 going into November.
Right.
And I said that boldly.
The rural Democrats, the old Democrats of this state, very conservative.
They are.
Right. And they remember you because you identified.
And they're
with
your
them.
new Republicans.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they are extremely conservative Christian, hardworking people.
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
there's a big change when the Bernie Sanders socialist bunch came in and took over the Democrat Party. A lot of people said, I'm done with this.
About 400,000.
Yeah.
And that's why when people criticize what was I doing, I lived in that world.
Yeah.
But I've always been me. And that's how I almost beat Joy the first time, because Republicans looked at me and go, you're not a Democrat, you're a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually come up to me and said that. And that's true.
Yeah, Mike Ford had to work really hard to discredit you.
Yeah, but discredit not. And what's bad about that is it discredited the people that worked with me.
I know.
It's okay if I take it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what bothered me.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw this years ago. When you were a Democrat and people were. See, that's one thing that I find a lot of our Republicans. Diehard, I don't know, you'll call them yellow dog Republicans or such, but the enemy is always the enemy.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not. The enemy is not always the enemy. You see that in Bobby Kennedy, in his changing, what's her name?
Tulsi Gabbard.
And there's other
Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump.
Right, exactly. Those are the
former Democrats.
Premier examples. Yeah. And even in the state, you look at some of our gubernatorial candidates, whether you like it or not, but we've got to get over this. Our team is always our team, because sometimes your team is not. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I just want to make a difference for kids.
Exactly.
I just want to be state superintendent to improve education.
Okay.
Right.
So somebody wants a yard sign, or they got a contribution, or they need some more information. Website. What is it?
Okay. Cox4ok.com. Doesn't matter how you spell
the number. Okay.
Doesn't matter. And you can, and it's easy to contribute. I'm in the process of raising $200,000 before the June 16th election.
Okay.
How far along are you?
I'm about 1/4 of the way to that.
Okay.
And like I said, last Wednesday, we put it on steroids, and now we've reached 2.1 million people within that time frame. So it's precise.
Cox4ok.com. You're on social media.
I am. Elect Dr. John Cox on Facebook. And really that's where the social media piece is coming out. You can learn everything about my platform, what the plan is. Because really I'm the only one talking about a plan, but the plan is on my Cox4ok.com. I mean, it is. It's laid out. My op-eds are on there.
That's your deep dive. Yeah.
It is. Yep. It is.
Good. Okay, good. Then, and where are you heading this week in case people want to catch up with you?
Okay, so I'm headed down to, going to Norman tonight to the Helen Cole Republican Women's
great group
out at the fairgrounds.
Historic group.
And then I'm headed down.
That's in Norman.
It's in Norman at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And then I'm headed down to Elk City to meet some people who are supporting me to pass off signs and do those things.
Yep.
And then actually going through Sarah and Hollis because they asked me to come through there. And then I'll work my way back up to Lawton. And there's a function being thrown for me in Lawton. And then Tuesday, I'm actually speaking to the Lawton Republican Women's Group at noon at the Country Club.
Good.
I will go back to Nichols Hills Tuesday night for a fundraiser for me there. And then I think one of my favorite things is Wednesday morning at 6:00 at the Omni. There's about 600 men that meet for a prayer breakfast.
Nice.
I am more excited about that.
Yeah.
Not for a campaign, but for the power behind that. And then you go to Friday, Saturday, I'm putting on a state trap meet at North Rock Creek School in Shawnee.
Trap or track?
Track. And so that's the other life that I live. We do volunteer for our 91K8 schools across the state. We had our regionals last week, 4 regionals across state, and I help organize that, and then we run it down there. So we'll have thousands of kids winning medals and being a part of that, which is a favorite thing for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, John, we sincerely appreciate you coming in. And
I love this.
Yeah, and I do too. I like just being able to have the conversations in here, especially learning more about your life. And when you win, I'd like to get you back and hear more about your background and do a deep dive into who is John Cox. Yep. Hey, so thank you so much, and God bless. And we hope you have a great week here. For those still hanging on out there, we will be back shortly. David is escorting Dr. Cox to the door and then locking the doors again. And here he comes. All right. Do we need more music to come back in on? Or,
I don't care.
Yeah. We're just going to continue like we are.
I got to say something about you, Eddie. You are not a groupthink guy. You do think for yourself. You know, when John was running against a rhino Republican,
right,
you stuck with John, the Democrat. And other times you would do that, and you paid a price for it, too. The Republican establishment doesn't like people doing that, thinking for themselves.
I got kicked out of the executive committee of the Tulsa County Republican Party because I dared to say that I was supporting a Democrat. So, but yeah, no, I mean, you know, I could see that the Republican candidate was a rhino.
Yeah.
And the Democrat candidate was a dino.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? You got Dino and Rhino, a Democrat in name only. They have theirs too.
Yeah.
So, no, I've always, there was something about John Cox that spoke to me early on and even, like I said, even with, it was Barisi that was running against, what's her name in the beginning? Hoffmeister that did that one. But even Ryan, I liked everything he said.
Yeah.
The problem that I saw was his youth and his exuberance. And to me, he didn't have as we talked about way back with Dick Cheney, the gravitas. You know,
the administrative, get out of campaign mode and into running a department mode.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, educationally or pedagogically, as they call it, dealing with teaching. This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's been in there 40 years. He's practiced it. He's lived it. He coaches. I mean, that's the thing about these little towns. You'll have the principal that will be a coach. Mm-hmm. I have to give props to, what was the Jenks football coach that?
Trimble,
yeah. Alan. And as a union dad and head of the booster club and all of that for a while, and coach, I coached that union, but I always had this not stereotypical, preconceived idea of what Alan Trimble was.
Yeah.
And then I met him.
Yeah.
And the way I met him, I was coaching soccer, and our JV was playing a 6:00 in the morning game on a Saturday with the JV over there.
Yeah.
And I get up there, and the gates are locked. And who comes to unlock the gate? Coach Trimble. And I was saying, wow, this is, what's he doing here? He should have some flunky or some lower or a student even, whose job it is to unlock the gate. And then I knew a young lady who was on the tennis team, and she said, Coach Trimble is the one who drove him around. He drove him to all of their tennis tournaments and matches and so forth. And it totally turned my opinion of him around, that this is a guy who is truly engaged with his students and loves what he does, loves sports.
And you know what? Trimble has that same respect and admiration for Bill Blankenship, his big rival, and Freudenreich after him. And those are a couple of programs that, in fact, Bill told me, he says, everybody thinks we cheat to keep winning. He says, actually, we have to keep other people from trying to destroy our program through cheating to get on the roster when they aren't qualified. Right. And sometimes they do, and it does cause big problems. Trimble had a year suspension because of some kid cheating.
Right. Now, and that same kid, here's what's the funny, that same kid started off at Union.
Oh.
And Jenks took him, and he had actually moved here from like Washington D.C. or Virginia.
Virginia, a military school.
And so anyway, Union, because I met the kid. My son was still involved at the time, and he came down there, and for the summer program, and then by fall they switched and ended up at Jenks, and then the thing blew up. But hey. We probably better move on, I think.
By the way, is there anything concern you, or, what's your basic highlights about Cox? I saw it all good.
No, nothing concerns me. I think I've been in his corner for the last three elections now. Mm-hmm. So no, I think he's the guy, and I don't know much about the others, but honestly, the experience. Here's what I'm becoming a little concerned about. This is a broader aspect to everything. I'm starting to see now that you've got these state legislators that all of a sudden, when they term limit, they got to find another state job to get into.
Musical chairs.
Just go back to what you were doing before you went to the legislature, okay?
Yeah.
Don't feel you need to jump to another, so when I hear there's 2 state legislators running for superintendent of education, unless they have the credentials to be an educator or whatever, what the guys say, stay in your lane, bro.
Eddie,
stay in your lane.
Adam Pugh was a military fighter pilot, though. We're supposed to revere that.
Yeah.
That makes him good at anything.
Now you're going to get me in real trouble here. You're going to get me. What do we have now? 3 fighter pilots then?
Oh, geez.
We have one for governor.
Yeah.
We have one for Congress.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me there's a third one?
Yeah.
These guys are coming out of
Three
the
of
woodwork.
them, and none of them is Jim Bridenstine. He's not running for it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that gets me. That because you flew a plane, or why should a pilot have any more credibility than a ground pounder?
Because he can raise more money for the military industrial complex. That's what it's about.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Well, you and I, that's our perspective that we get to see.
And your dad was career Army too.
He was. And, did Korea and Vietnam.
Yeah.
And just missed World War II. But yeah, it always gets me when you get these and you may be a hero, but be a hero, it doesn't mean you're qualified all of a sudden to be a congressperson or a superintendent of education or you name it. I don't like that. I just don't like that. It's stay in your lane. And now, if you have the true qualifications and credentials and so forth to do it, then do it. But it's too. Sometimes it just seems too opportunistic than more than truly wanting to serve.
So we got over 500 school districts. In some of them, like Tulsa, they won't hire you for superintendent unless you have a doctorate of education. Okay. And that's just one of the 500.
Right.
To run for superintendent, you don't need a doctorate of anything. Now, John Cox does have an earned doctorate.
Right.
And he has like decades of experience at all levels.
Yeah.
So, I'm very comfortable with John Cox and his demeanor, his deportment. And I just think it restoring and healing the rift, and let's get the kids' interests ahead of everything else.
Right.
So I just think that's going to be a good thing. I will say in following up on this, there was a contest of the Senator Adam Pugh, who's been the Education Committee chair. And I talked to him Friday, that day that he filed for office. And I said, the Constitution's pretty clear that you're in the middle. You've still got 2 more years in your term. And it says you can't be elected while your current term you're elected to is in place. And he says, well, I think that's unconstitutional. I said, that is the Constitution, and now the way he says it, and I listened to his lawyers argue, he says, we wrote the funding bill so that you get a raise unless you were a member of the legislature that passed this raise, then you don't get it. And then therefore they can say the emoluments of the office have not changed. Well, they have changed. They just did a carve out, and it's this jumping jacks they go through to try to make Adam Pugh qualified. And he helped write that legislation. Now, one of the members of the House, Tony Hassenbeck, challenged him. She hired an attorney. She paid all the fees and everything. And you could tell the election board was going to side with Adam Pugh. Well, the election board is under the Senate. Mm-hmm. The Senate leadership gets to hire the election board chair, and he hires everybody else. Well, actually, the political parties get to appoint people, but they answer to Paul Zuriak, the state election board secretary. So, this is
Has it gone to the courts?
No, I'm sure it got filed on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Because the hearing was on Thursday. And yes, and it should. Now, the same issue, our friend Steve Kunzweiler was just in here last week. Right. He challenged it having to do with somebody who was elected while he was still a member of the House Representative, but he would not have taken office in this new role. It was Steve Kunzweiler's opponent, Fred Jordan. The Supreme Court, in a divided decision, says, but when he took over, his term would have been over then. Justice Stephen Taylor says you cannot be elected. The language of the Constitution is very clear. And they did jumping jacks to pretend it didn't say what it said.
The Supreme Court did.
Yeah, and Kunzweiler was furious. He only got 2 justices to agree with him on the plain language.
Out of
8 voted. Somebody abstained or he recused himself. So anyway, but that's somebody who was just like Tony Hasselbeck, who's challenged. She would term out before her office would begin. That's precedent. Steve Kunzweiler and I still disagree with that, but nonetheless, it's precedent. Adam Pugh still has 2 years that he's in office, because if he loses this, he's going to spend the next 2 years as a senator.
Right.
And it's not just the pay raise, but it's the accountability, it's the perks, it's all kinds of stuff. Some of those things are going to change, like health insurance. All those things are going to change. And I just don't, I really have a problem.
I agree. Because it falls under stinking politician.
Yeah.
You know, everything negative you think about politicians, that's what you're seeing. People that just want to stay in public office just for the sake of being there, and they like the perks and so forth. And I say, get out. You know, and so
well, you get treated like royalty at the Capitol. All the staffers and everybody, you're just one of the prima donnas. I was listening to Rick Santorum this morning. He said the trappings of power, especially as a senator, you walk in the building, it's like people genuflect to you. You know, this is Santorum talking about the U.S. Capitol, but that same principle is at work. And so, after I talked to Adam Pugh on filing day, I was coming back from Oklahoma City. I called John Cox. That's when I set up this interview. And he says, you know what? Tony Hasselbeck already reached out to me and said, I am going to challenge. And John was considering, do I also challenge? It's kind of a moot point. But John, agrees. But ultimately, what he said today is, you know what? I'll take on all comers. I plan to win.
What is Pugh's background?
He was a fighter pilot.
So he's going to make a great superintendent of education.
That's all I know is he was a fighter pilot.
Does he have pictures of him in a flight suit?
Oh, I'm sure he does.
The cockpit.
I'm sure there's AI photos out there too.
Oh my goodness!
No, he ran special election. It was up against a preacher who was a former pro football player. So you had to choose between a pro football player and a fighter pilot. But that guy was also a preacher. So yeah, it's just it's all about image, Yeah. Who are the heroes we worship today? I'm one of them, So anyway, no, and look, Adam, he's been diligent in the legislature. He fought for some things that I really appreciate him fighting for, and so did Tony Hasselbeck.
Right.
And,
and the one that stuck out to me, who's the black candidate? What's his name?
Yes, James Taylor.
James Taylor. Okay. He was running for governor last couple of times.
Yeah, he started out running against Tom Cole. In fact, I organized his campaign that year. Right.
But then wasn't he running for governor, I think at least the last time or last couple of times.
It might have been that or lieutenant governor or something.
Right, but right. Yeah. And now, it's like, dude, give it up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's try this one. It didn't work. Let's try this one. Let's try. It looks to me like you're too anxious to get some kind of public office.
But what James has been doing most of his life?
Background and support those who uphold your ideals and morals and stuff.
Career-wise, James Taylor has been an Oklahoma City school teacher. I've met his students.
Okay, so it does have
been to his school, and he's got a doctorate in education too.
Okay, well there we go.
Yeah,
so at least he does have that type of qualification. So, but it just bugs me to the fact that why did he finally end up here? Why didn't he do this back against Joy Hoffmeister or 4 years ago or whatever? So I don't know. I think, Dave, you and I are becoming somewhat biased and jaundiced and just kind of disturbed by the whole political mess that's out there. I can't even come up with the words.
What happens?
Adequately express how I feel about everything political.
When you first moved back to the United States, Oklahoma, a very wealthy trust fund baby, Lloyd Noble III, funded this state question. That was we were the first state in the nation to put term limits on our legislature. And Lloyd Noble funded that thing.
I have to say he donated to my campaign.
That's right. I remember you told me, he says, I read all the trash Tulsa World said about you, and I said, you're my guy. You know, and it's his family, the Lloyd Noble Center, the big arena on OU campus. Yeah, is named. But anyway, we started the clock. He said, you got 12 years total service in the legislature, and you can't run. That's combined Senate and House. Right. You don't jump around. You don't move to district and start the clock over again. But what we've seen happen is their first 5 terms, 2-year terms in the House, they're busy doing the work to try and get that last term. They're busy arranging their golden hammock, whether it's a state board of regents or like my former state representative had a Grand River Dam Authority making $400,000 a year. And that's after he gets one of his staffers pregnant and his wife leaves him over it. You know, you have those kinds of scandals and you end up with that kind of golden hammock. You go from 30-some thousand a year to 400,000 a year, you know, and, so this is a problem. They look for that golden hammock and they quit worrying about getting reelected because they can't anymore. You could always hold that against them, Eddie.
Right.
It's like, you either vote the way you want or we're voting you out of office.
Exactly.
Their last term, they don't care.
Right. Well, even as my dear late friend, best friend, late David Brumbaugh, told me, he said, you can't believe this. When he first got elected to the state legislature, and he said, you can't believe this. The first week, he had lobbyists for the tribes come in.
Yep.
And say, here's the things we want you to support and vote for. Mm-hmm. And if you do, we'll go ahead and give X amount of, and it was like, I think nearly $1 million to get reelected. Mm-hmm. If you don't, we will find somebody to run against you and we will fund their campaign. Yeah. This is the kind of arm twisting that goes on there. And not to say the tribes are the only ones. I mean, they're probably just one of hundreds or more that are that's what these lobbyists do. Yeah. They should be called scum because that's their job, and they get so wrapped up in it, and they go out and basically, buy political office.
Well, yeah, the organization that funds them, notice they set aside the money. Mm-hmm. They just don't know who they're going to give it to, but it's already in their budget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And who did that? You did when you played the blackjack table or went to a concert or stayed in one of their hotels or just something. Okay. It's those of us heading down to that casino and probably money you don't have. The gambling addiction problem in this state is horrible.
Yeah.
It's the most underreported thing.
They're just one. You've got your oil lobby.
Oh, the cattlemen.
Tobacco.
Yes,
the cattlemen,
all of them.
You name it. Okay?
The oil industry is huge.
Mm-hmm. And so, it gets to the point where you're cheated from being able to truly, honestly evaluate the candidates. Mm-hmm. Because you're presented a picture. Mm-hmm. I personally, I support Mike Mazzei. Okay, that's who I've chosen to support as governor because I know him so well. I'm a family friend, and I've seen him on and off the political trail or the pulpit. But I have to say, second to that, I've come to the point where I can actually respect one of his competitors. I'm not going to mention the name right now, but it's a person that actually, has built a business, comes from a small town in Oklahoma, but yet has built a business to raise himself to a certain status. And so I can actually respect that. Okay. And what's interesting, he never uses that. You wouldn't know this about this person, that he's done this, and this. So I'll let you sit there and guess, and Stuart. I see David's mind.
I just found out some trash on some people.
He can't wait to get to the trash. But what I'm saying is, the political environment we live in today, the person at home, sitting at home, that has to decide who to vote for or not vote for, it's tough. It's crazy. I remember going to a Republican when I was running, a Republican lady, and she was nice, gave me a drink because it was like 100 degrees out or something, and then told me that she has to support the Democrat simply because the Democrat, and she even went to, Christian lady, went to a church that I used to attend and everything. But it turns out her husband was in the police force and they were supporting this candidate, and everything this candidate, or we know who the candidate is. She's now a fake Republican. But anyway, because she was promoting this, what do you call it? What they call it? Nerve center is
data.
No. It's a headquarters. They were going to have fire, police.
Oh, okay, yeah. The old
Farm building, but I can't remember what they call it. Strategic something center.
Yeah,
they were going to have them all there, and everything was going to be. And I knew, and I was even told by some people that the property is condemned and can't be used. And I even stated that, but they now know this is the police, fire, and EMS are all going to be based out of the State Farm building. It's going to be renovated. Then what happened 6 months later? Oh, we can't use it. It's unlivable. It would cost $100 million or something. To get it to be. So what I'm saying, you can't trust anybody anymore. People. They lie. They do anything. And de Tocqueville, it's the thing. Remember de Tocqueville? You said when people can figure they can get to the point where they can get people to work against their own nature, best interest, just because of what these politicians are selling them or trying to. It's because everybody has these self-interests, and it just, honestly, Dave, it just irks me. I sometimes I can hardly talk because inside I'm just upset by this kind of stuff.
Okay, let me.
So I know you're still waiting.
No, this is about Mike Mazie.
Let me transition. Okay,
Mike Mazie passed a milestone when your well-funded opponents take out ads to trash you, negative ads.
Right.
And further, don't even mention who they are. They want this to look like you're not going to find out. So I watched this last week, ads trashing Mike Mazie and Chip Keating. So I just asked Gemini, Google's AI, who's been doing that? And Gemini said, who's running TV ads trashing Chip Keating and Mike Mazie? As of April 2026, that's this current month, Gentner Drummond's campaign and related political groups have been identified as primary sources of negative advertising targeting Chip Keating and Mike Mazie in the Oklahoma gubernatorial primary. Gentner's not even putting his name on it, but AI found out. Thank God for AI. It does the deep dive you and I can't, and it's concluded that. Okay, so Gentner, man up. if you're going to go trashing somebody, put your name on it.
You busted.
Yeah. Now it says and associated political groups. As you know, PACs are a big part of things. People will give you the maximum they can as a candidate, and then they will dump a bunch into a PAC.
Right.
But here's the thing. Mike has got to feel good that he's reached that milestone.
Yeah, to be the target
where Gettner
of one
feels
of the
threatened.
top. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I will say, I've been really impressed. Now, Mike has made some changes along the way, and all campaigns do that. And we'll see where things go.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it. You know, I mean, Gettner, we know more about Mike Mazie than we do know about you. Sorry, that's just the case. Yeah. The Mazie family, I mean, he's served as at least us in Tulsa, because he's been our legislature since way back 20 years ago.
Yeah, I remember when he first ran for the state house back in the 90s. I came home one evening and my wife says, "Oh, we had the nicest guy come by and he's running for the state legislature." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, his name's Mike Mazie." I said, "It's Mike Mazie." And so what's weird about it, so I was going to one of the old Republican luncheons, one of the many in town, and this guy cut in front of me. And I was all ticked off at him, and so I can't remember whether I did something to try to cut him off or whatever again myself. And he gets out of his car, and then we go into the hotel where the meeting was, and he comes up to me, you know, "Hey, Jim Mazie here," you know, and my wife Gay, and I mean, he was the most pleasant person in the world, you know, and all of a sudden I said, "Oh, Jim, I'm sorry. I take back all those terrible things I thought about you," because it was just one of those, he was in a hurry to get there. I was in a hurry to get there, but I never even met Mike for probably a year. And just became friends with his dad, you know, and have seen him progress to the point he has now, you know. He has I think he has true gravitas. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, he runs a financial services company, investment firm, and they have made a lot of money, people. I mean, they're really good at what they do.
And you know what? He's made his clients so much money that just his fees and percents is enough. Mike Mazie loaned his campaign $3 million. Okay. Now, 8 years ago, Gary Richardson announced he was running for governor, and everybody he says, "I am putting $1 million into my gubernatorial campaign of my own family money." $1 million. Well, it came out this week. Chip Keating put $2 million in, and now I'm just reading first time. Mike Mazie $3 million in. So yeah, Gettner's got a lot of family wealth, and we know Charles McCall is super wealthy. But all of them are.
Yeah. What's interesting is that I think Mike was saying that they estimated it should take $30 million.
Yeah.
For governor. Yeah. I mean, for governor, $30 million. Yeah. I mean, you know, and of course, president and I, we're in the hundreds of millions. If it's just ridiculous.
No. Kamala Harris in 3 weeks raised over $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Over $1 billion, and blew it. Now she had to pay Oprah $1 million for an endorsement.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody wants their cut. It's all about the green, you know. It's not about the passion. It's about what can I get out of it.
It's crazy. I mean, you know, I remember just for the city council seat, $35,000. And to me, that was, you know, not chump change. And I could, when I first thought about it, and I told the Tulsa World when they interviewed me, "How much do you think you're now?" I said, $30,000. 30,000, and sure enough, it ended up being more than the 30,000.
Well, and there were other people put their own resources in political action committees. In fact, you and I would, come in here to the office and I'm like, who did this mailer? I don't know. Somebody had, made us look good.
Yeah, PAC. Yeah, PAC, the PACs.
And we aren't allowed to know.
No, we didn't know.
In fact, it was after the day after election, we come in and one of them calls us. Yeah, here's what we did. Now that the election is over, we can tell you who we are, what we did.
Yes, they called you. They didn't call me.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm still not sure.
But, that's truly just because that's the thing. The Supreme Court, when they ruled on it, that PACs are allowable, is that they cannot have any coordination with the campaign. Mm-hmm. And you talk about no coordination. We don't even know who they are. We don't know when mailers are going to go out. Who's doing what?
Yeah, it's a political environment today is not what it was with our granddaddies.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's switch to some news here. Let me just throw this in there real quick. So the big news earlier this week, in fact, yesterday, was that Iran has capitulated and we've gotten somewhere with Iran, and they're going to open the Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz. Now today, the news is out that they have reversed their course again on responding to the Strait of Hormuz, signaling a warning to the U.S. So President Trump said Iran can't blackmail us after the country announced they were reimposing the restrictions. We have very good conversations going on. It's working out very well, he said. They got a little cute, as they've been doing for 70 years, and nobody ever took them on. We took them on. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no leaders. They have no nothing. They have nothing, Don. That's a double negative. Actually, their leaders are... It is regime change. Mm-hmm. And so despite Iran wanting to close the strait again, Trump said in the Oval Office that negotiations are going on and are going along very well. They promised more information by the end of the day. Trump also cited how oil tankers are now coming to the U.S. ports to fuel up, including Texas and Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So, in a way, it actually doesn't work to hurt us because it's increasing our oil industries. The only place it's going to hurt us is the fact that as we give a lot of oil to the oil tankers and things like that, it's going to increase the prices of oil.
You know who else is getting rewarded in this? Is Venezuela.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And Trump said that. We will help rebuild that country.
Yeah. And he's offering the same kind of relationship
to Iran
to make Iran great again.
Yeah.
And, I think it was Rick Santorum said this morning. I was listening to Newsmax Talking Heads, he says, Trinidad and Tobago could declare the Gulf of America closed too. But nobody will believe them.
Yeah.
And what is the only thing really closing the Straits of Hormuz is Lloyd's of London. They're just saying, we're not going to insure your boats. We're canceling your policy. Right.
And that is kind of a signal bell to other people to jump into this is how billionaires are made. If someone had the guts or wanted to jump out there and say, Lloyd's of London's not insuring you, we will insure you.
I think the United States did say that.
No, but I'm talking about a private company that would say, okay, Lloyd's of London, you're out of here, we're taking it. And not only that, we're going to do it at a lower price than Lloyd's of London.
Oh, now you're making them pay.
Right.
The wealth in London is going to shrink up. You do that.
Exactly. And so, and if somebody had the guts and the faith to believe that, go through it. Go for it.
I don't think anybody's going to have more confidence in the United States than Donald Trump.
Right.
And it's, if they can do that, wow.
Yeah. You get some new insurance company or someone creates a new conglomerate, several billionaires get together. You know what? Why don't we'll just put Lloyd's of London out of business?
Yeah.
At least out of that business.
Yeah. I start up Trump Property and Casualty. You know what? With his investors, Qatar, Emirates, Saudi, Oman.
Well, that's how it all started. How they got started. They were a conglomerate of different. Lloyd's of London's actually kind of like Wall Street. You had a bunch of companies getting together, and they all put money into this thing, and then that would insure their boats.
Yeah, because that's how you mitigate your risks and your exposure.
And that's what insurance is. And so if there were a new conglomerate to come call it Lloyd's of Houston, or Lloyd's of Nashville, or I don't want to use New York.
Well, let's talk about two things, though, that happened in the last 24 hours. Oil prices dropped, 15, 20%?
Because of the strait being open.
Because of Trump's tweets.
Right. His tweets, yeah. But I mean, based on the assumptions,
if you believe Trump's tweets,
right. Well, that's true.
And then the stock market, because we're right back up at that 50,000 ceiling that we were in before any of this started.
Mine has gained $2,000 in like 3 days.
Eddie, if you would have invested at the beginning of April, and here we are, not even the 20th, the 18th, in 18 days, you could have gotten at least a 10% increase in 18 days.
Well, in certain things, I mean, it depends on what, if you're looking at the Dow.
If you just did the Dow, right, an index fund on the Dow, it's 10% in 18 days. That's over 200% annually. That's massive returns. You talk about day trading, but
what goes up goes down.
So what goes down eventually goes up too.
That's where you don't. Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. You've got to know, and everybody knows, what goes up will go down.
Yeah.
So you know that, but it doesn't do this.
Yeah.
It usually goes.
Yeah.
And that's where you the biggest opportunity. There were two back in the October surprise of 1987, Bloody Monday. Then again, after the Twin Towers attack, 1990, was that 92, I think?
The Twin Towers, that would be 2001.
Was it 2000? Okay, 2001. There was another opportunity where the market just crashed and died for a while. If you had just started out then investing, man, because you know what with the Dow back then, I think it was at what was it 17,000 or something like that back then, and now we're over. It was 1,700. Now it's over 4,000. It's almost 5,000. So you would have really made some money in that period of time.
Yeah, and it's not that way just about stocks, but my great-grandfather, my dad used to quote him a lot because later in life he invested money in Wall Street, but early on he's a farmer. He's an ag guy. Now it's about commodities. And as soon as everybody was getting rid of hogs, he bought hogs. As soon as everybody was getting rid of cattle, he bought cattle. You've got to buck the trend. Now, sure, sometimes you miss it, but a lot of times doing the opposite of the way the herd's moving is usually in your best interest.
Yeah, when you say that, what it reminds me of is that Eddie Murphy movie where Trading Places.
Oh yeah, great.
They were doing stock futures in the trading.
Yes, orange juice.
Hog bellies.
Yes. Okay. Hog bellies.
Hog belly. Yeah. That's the one that got me. Hog bellies and orange juice. Yeah, it was an orange juice thing. But it's so funny about commodities. That's a little, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of money to be made in that, but it seems like a whole different animal.
It's very highly speculative. You can lose a lot. Yes. Mortimer, we're back in business. Well, that was from Coming to America.
Yeah, that was from Coming to America.
He did a little spin up.
He gave him a bunch of money.
My favorite line I'm healed. Thank you, Jesus. I'm healed. But Eddie Murphy's playing.
They pick him up off the ground, and one leg drops down, and the other leg drops down. Those were some of the greatest comedic movies ever. And those were Landis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those were Landis, and he died, of course. But to me, he and Mel Brooks are the two greatest comedic producers ever. Those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Mel, we've talked about Mel Brooks, and one of my favorites. If you haven't gotten this, you got to get it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie, Keanu Reeves did one about Dracula.
Mm.
And I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, it was in the late 90s. Well, then Mel Brooks, he does these spoof movies.
Yes.
And so his was called Dracula Dead and Loving It. And hilarious. But if you can find it, you've got to get that movie. It has some of the absolute funniest scenes you will ever see in any movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Mel Brooks is just amazing. Actually, Debbie and I love this old rerun series called Mad About You. Paul Reese and Helen Hunt. And Mel Brooks is on there quite a few episodes. Really? Yes. Okay. Oh, he plays his crazy uncle. I mean, yeah. So you got to see. Yeah, Uncle Phil. He was, yeah.
I was surprised. Was Joan Crawford his wife?
I don't know.
I can't remember, some other female movie star. But they've been married like 50, 60 years.
Could be. Let me just ask.
Yeah, ask.
Gemini is sitting in today. Yes, Mel Brooks has been married twice. Yes, Anne Bancroft.
Anne Bancroft, that's it. Bancroft. And a lot of you younger people won't know her, but she was in the film The Miracle Worker.
Yeah,
story by Helen Keller.
41 years.
41 years, almost as much as me. Not quite. By the way, which reminds me, Dave, in just a month and a half, I will have been married to my lovely wife sometimes. 50 years.
Bless her heart.
50 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 50. I can't even believe it. 50 years I've had to put up with this woman. No.
It pays to be a church volunteer altar worker, leading people to Christ. You never know. You get first dibs at new Christians,
Well, it was a different story. It was I have to.
I like my version.
Well, yeah, you can make up your version anything you want. The deal is that it was, as the guy said, she chased me till I caught her.
Yeah. And
so because I was madly in love with someone else at the time when I met her.
You were.
So you weren't there. It's like
you've told me this story so many times in great detail. You were dating a girl from Texas Women's University.
I did tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Eddie, you've told me this story at least 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But not always on the same day. See, now you get senile when you hear the same story more than once in a day.
Yeah.
But anyway, incredible. And I mean, you and Vicky have raised 4 kids.
4.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take Dave around with me everywhere I go, new people, and then say, "Oh, hi, how are you? Who are you?" Da-da. Oh, Dave. Dave would just give my whole story. Hey, listen, these people don't want to hear this stuff. Yeah. So anyway, Terry Wilson, a local Black Lives Matter activist, reportedly shot at F. Charlie Kirk before sparking a massive vigil brawl. So apparently there in Boise, they were having a vigil for Charlie, and this guy, idiot, decides to yell something like that. And Erica Kirk, in fact, I've got a deal. Matthew Dowd, Carolina Panthers employee, Secret Service employee. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. This is pulled off a whole bunch. I'm sorry. I apologize to you all for this. It's pulled off all these. They're all related. And but I'm trying to see what it didn't. Oh, it didn't print what I wanted to. I apologize. In any event, what this was supposed to be about is that Erica Kirk was mistakenly, basically banned from her own Turning Point USA event. She never attended or got there because somebody screwed up and decided that, you know, they didn't know who she was and she wasn't entitled to be in there. So it messed everything up. Yeah. So anyway, here, there's one more here that I have, and I'll let you take over, Dave, because apparently I did a terrible job in show prep today. FBI Director Kash Patel, whom the Democrats loathe. Sure. And I'll tell you why they hate him so much. It's because he represents a minority constituency.
Oh, yeah.
He's not only East Indian or Asian, but he's a dark-skinned East Asian. Anyway, and you know, the Democrats fear anyone that is a minority that speaks out. Like you take Clarence Thomas, you remember how they've come against him. Just name a black conservative, and the left goes crazy over a right-wing black conservative.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kash Patel is vying to take the Atlantic magazine to court over a bombshell report Friday that says, well, it's filled with defamatory remarks. And basically, they accused him of being an alcoholic and a carouser and all of these things, just slamming mud. And none of it's true. What really made them mad, what started this, was at the Winter Olympics, when the U.S. hockey team won the gold medal. They were in the locker room afterwards, and they're throwing champagne, and you know, as they do.
Yep.
And there's Kash Patel in there with them, drinking champagne and
big hockey enthusiast.
Oh yeah, he's a very large hockey fanatic. Yeah.
Yeah, and they loved him there.
Oh yeah, they did. Well, the hockey sport in general, U.S. hockey is one of the most patriotic sports there is. Well, the opposite of the NFL and the NBA.
Now, your son, one of them, is the vice president of the Stanley Cup champion team. Some of the players in his organization were there with Kash. Mm-hmm. Has your son had any insights on what happened there?
No, we haven't talked about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there again, minority. Remember the famous words of Clarence Thomas. This is what they do to uppity black men who deign to think for themselves.
Yep.
You'll get a high-tech lynching. You know? Now, I don't know. I mean, how's this right up on Kash Patel? Has it been sourced? Are they claiming they're going to say anonymous sources?
Yeah, typical White House insiders. Who?
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's insane the way they do this type of thing. And it just makes me angry, you know. And and here's what's so sad: the minority Democrats that you see, either from Obama to the Senate to the House to Jasmine Crockett, for example, she's the latest, and a few of those. I mean, we're talking truly legitimate, bona fide idiots.
Yeah.
People that shouldn't be in the job, but got in there. Mm-hmm. And then you take people that are quality individuals in the Republican Party, and they try to make them look like they're scum or don't know anything and so forth. Question their credentials.
Yeah, but the real reason that article appeared when it did was to get Eric Swalwell's story off the front headlines. It was get him thinking about something else, because the Swalwell thing is not just an indictment of an idiot, womanizer from California, but the whole system that hid his corruption for so long. And I don't know who finally blew the whistle. Somebody did. and it was former staffers, and I think some current staffers.
Yeah, the females, yeah. And it's not good. It's almost like all of these people coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. And then somebody, and it had to have been a lawmaker, had a video of him grabbing some prostitute and pulling her up on his lap. You know, and she was identifiable and said, yeah, she's a sex worker, you know. It's like, how's this go? And you know, the crazy thing is, the Democrat candidates for governor in California, there's not a good one in the bunch.
No. Oh, what's the woman? What's the
Porter?
Oh my goodness! Have you seen the video where she's yelling at?
Oh yeah,
her.
She's horrible.
So,
and she flat out says, "I don't need any Republican support. I'm not talking to them. I don't need them."
Yeah, she is a piece of work. I mean, I don't know who would vote for that lady. I mean, she's just nasty, just mean and nasty. I mean, she has nothing no smile, no, interactive skills. And if she were to win, I would
and I say this to my fellow Republicans in Oklahoma. What you see in California as a result of the Democrats having such a massive supermajority that they become so emboldened in their corruption, they don't think it'll ever cost the party. Mm-hmm. And so the party just keeps covering up, and that can happen to Republicans here in Oklahoma. If we don't police our own, if we get caught covering up for fellow Republicans, then we're just as bad. And it does happen here. It does.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, we had a situation. Well, is our mutual friend Dan Kirby. Dan hadn't done anything wrong, but some woman, as retribution because she was having an affair with another married state representative, and she got reassigned to Dan Kirby, and Kirby wouldn't allow her flirting with this other guy, kicked him out of his office several times. And so this woman punishes Dan by alleging Dan was sexually harassing her. And Jeff Hickman, who was speaker at the time, covered up the investigation and settled with the woman. And somebody from the Oklahoma says, hey, what is this, maintenance fee? What kind of maintenance work? No, it was to a lawyer. And that's how we found out about it. And Dan didn't do anything wrong. Hickman did something wrong.
Right.
He was trying to cover it up. And it just, now, other women came forward and said embarrassing, and eventually Dan resigned. But, it's just crazy stuff. And I saw this with other people in leadership. And I told one guy who did something wrong, he owned it. And I said, I'm mad at the speaker for not holding the members of the Republican majority accountable. Because this is how the Democrats lost power, is we found out they were covering up each other's immorality. Yeah. So anyway, gas and oil looking good. I just wanted to say, who knows what's going to happen with Iran. I don't know. Trump was ready to fly to Pakistan.
I know. He's, they're going to reach a limit. It's going to be the boy who cried wolf too many times. And Trump eventually is going to say, oh, that's it. No more. We're not buying any of your crap. We're just going to go in and do this.
Yeah.
And open the straits. And you can, we're going to have destroyers going through there as escorts to the tankers and dare them and just blow every ship they have out of the water. They've already cleared the mines. They've already done that. We had our minesweepers go through and clear all of it because they had the whole thing mined. And so now they've cleared that, and a lot of it. Here's the other aspect, though, that gets less attention. It should probably get more. Our flaky European allies, okay, they just don't know how to commit. The friendship doesn't mean anything. If we really wanted support, we should go to Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Hungary, have them unfortunately, they don't have navies. But the countries that do, England, Holland, Spain, oh my goodness, see, we're really in a feud with Spain right now.
Yeah.
So those countries, they don't want to help. In fact, they're rooting against us because they're underhandedly negotiating and trading with Iran and other enemies of the state. So what this whole thing has really done is expose the rottenness and just the corruption that's going on worldwide, in Europe and in America.
I think Europe is insignificant anymore. I mean,
but that may be why they're doing it. They want us to come down. They want to tear us down so they can look better. It's jealousy. It's pure jealousy and envy.
The only significant economy in Germany is, in Europe is Germany, and Italy to a lesser degree. I don't see France or England as having any significance anymore.
They're not doing anything. And what's so sad is in Trump's first term, I don't know if you remember, he was trying to create this alliance with England that kind of separated, in other words, take them away from
the EU.
The EU.
Yeah.
And that never happened.
Yeah, it was the Starmer election that changed everything.
Right.
And now the way they got it set up, unless you get a few more defections from the Labor Party, they're not going to have elections until after Trump's out of office. And right now, it's looking like Nigel Farage has the most strength of any of them. But he's got a new organization. It takes a ground game, and he's busy building his Reform Party ground game. But, yeah, what has been said is the reason why for a minute there you had Iran saying, okay, the straits are open, was pressure from China. China says, doggone it, we need that oil. You get that oil here. And I think Trump would like nothing more than for China to say, you know what, maybe Venezuela is a better place to get oil, or the United States or somewhere else, because this is nuts. I mean, Iran is self-destructing.
Well, yeah. See, and it's this in the past, they've always been able to bully and threaten countries and people.
That's true, but business was always business with them.
No, right. But what I'm saying, when the reason business is business, well, no, because see, I think the reason before is everyone always capitulated. Like, for example,
I'm
Obama.
talking China.
Oh, you're talking about
China versus and Iran. It was straight up business.
Right. No, I'm talking about Iran and the U.S.
Yeah,
and the reason in the past is no one stood up to them and said, And this is the first time. But see, they're stubborn. I mean, they're trying to cling to every little last bit of hope they have.
What happened with this blockade that Trump put in place, he says nobody goes out or in except who we say goes in or out, was going to completely kill the Iranian economy within 14 to 20 days.
Right.
But it was also going to just devastate China.
Okay.
China does have the biggest global oil reserves of anybody, far more than the United States. So they've buffered themselves because they're so dependent on other nations.
Right, but that doesn't negate the fact of what I'm saying is I'm talking apples, you're talking oranges. Okay. What I'm saying is Iran feels that because of past practice, everybody capitulated.
Yeah, you're right. They've been able to both.
And Trump is not capitulating.
Right.
You're going to squeeze, and eventually, I believe they are going to have to collapse. Their entire nation will collapse. Right. Now, the China deal, it's another. China needs oil, and now if Trump, this is what's funny, if he can work it to where China gets its oil from Venezuela, oh oh my goodness, that'll really kill Iran.
Right.
At that point.
That's the thing. For the Iranian economy, their number one customer that they get cash from is China. They got to keep China happy. Mm-hmm. And China's not happy right now. And now they can try to blame the United States, but from what I understand, Trump went to China and talked to him directly, and China said, no, we like what you're doing, Trump. You're bringing order to a place of disorder. China just wants order. And market prices and that. And the cost right now of oil is not helping China either. They'd like to see the price go down. Sure. So I think, the first, 4 weeks of the bombing, Trump was going down in numbers. And I don't know, it seems like he's been more effective moving to the blockade phase, the 2-week ceasefire and stuff. And then Trump went to talk to, Turning Point yesterday out in Phoenix. And, he somewhat acknowledged, some of you people are not all that happy about us going to war. He made his case, and, I think he's trying to limit the fallout, and wrapping this thing up is going to be the best thing.
Yeah. I'd like to finish on that point of Trump and his polls and popularity, if you will. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because everyone's talking about how, where is he, in the 30s again? I think he's down in the 30s or whatever. And so, and you take that, and then you take the whole posture of everyone now, these so-called Christians and believers, in their posture against Israel. And I'm just shocked. I mean, conservatives and Christians seem to be the most fickle people in the world. You look at Democrats, okay, you don't see the bickering, the backbiting, the backstabbing, the fights, now if they're happening, I suspect, probably are somewhere, but they're in little dark rooms, and if someone comes in, just, this is the way it's going to be.
You're right.
Whereas the Republicans feel now that they're so free that everybody's opinion matters.
Yep.
And so it's hurting. It's hurting our party, and it's hurting the country. And so the position now, and then what really bothers me even more than that, the bickering and backbiting within the party, is the whole attitude towards Israel.
Yeah, well, what's Tucker, Candace, Alex, all them saying, and Megyn Kelly, is Trump is completely owned and he's the puppet of Israel. Well, Trump somewhat responded to that when he said, I am prohibiting Israel from bombing Lebanon. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like you're a puppet,
right,
when you say that. But I think Trump was kind of forced to use that harsh language to say, no, I'm in charge of American foreign policy.
Right. And he is. And who was Iran threatening? It was Israel and the United States. Mm-hmm. They said they were going to come. They're coming after the United States, and they're trying to get a long-range missile that will reach us.
Yeah.
That's been something they haven't been able to do. Mm-hmm. And if they had a missile with a long-range capability of reaching the United States, they would have been able to threaten us. They could probably write their own ticket. And he's the first one to say, nope, it's not happening. We're stopping it here now. You're stopping your nuclear program. We're going to destroy all of your missile capabilities, your delivery capabilities. And so, but again, the thing that really gets me is the Christians that are turning against Israel. It's just the weirdest thing. And what does it do? To me, it so supports biblical prophecy.
Yeah.
That we are in a time where but the few will stick by And here's what's weird, Dave. You know more Jewish people than I do.
Okay.
I guarantee you in town. I don't know any of them, but I know my word. I know the Bible. And it's, you bless Israel, you will be blessed. You curse Israel, you will be cursed. I'm sorry. If you believe in God, you've got to believe. Now, the new one, the one that always gets me is that, well, the Israel we have today is not really Israel. They all disappeared because remember they were taken into captivity, and all you have now is a bunch of opportunistic, non-Jewish people claiming to be Jewish, claiming this heritage. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it, okay? Mm-hmm. The Jews were forced to remain within themselves. Mm-hmm. In Russia, in Europe, in Germany, in fact, so you're telling me that the 7 million people that Hitler exterminated in the concentration camps, well, they weren't really Jews. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? It's ridiculous if you really look at it all. Same with the pogroms in Russia. Who is it that the Russians were persecuting? Mm-hmm. It was Jews. So you're going to say, oh, no, those weren't really Jews. They don't trace their heritage back to Israel. So I don't know why Christians are so ready to believe a lie. Why are they so culpable to believe all this garbage out there attacking Israel as a nation, and willing to basically reject the idea that the 1948 refounding of the nation of Israel, it doesn't have any prophecy, doesn't have anything to do with it, and so forth.
Well, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, to me, it's silly to just throw all Jews into one bag and criticize them all because they're Jews. That's something even Tucker Carlson says you just can't do that. A person should be judged individually for what that person does, regardless of their ethnicity. They can't control their ethnicity.
Right.
And that. But when David had a man killed so he could have adultery with his wife and get away with it, he was rebuked by a prophet of God. Didn't matter that he was Jewish.
Right.
It had nothing to do with it. You sinned, you violated, you harmed another person. You have to own it. I don't care what your ethnicity is.
Right, but that didn't have God all of a sudden. I'm supporting the Philistines now because you've messed up. I'm now supporting the Philistines.
At times it did. Talk to Jeremiah, talk to Isaiah, talk to all the people who had to pronounce God's judgment on Israel.
There's a difference in pronouncing the judgment and seeing Israel ravaged by these armies. That was a disciplinary action. But that didn't mean God all of a sudden totally rejected Israel. And now these are my people. That's what I'm trying to say is
God offered that one time to Moses. He said, I'll strike them all dead and raise up another nation.
Right, he did.
Descendants.
Exactly.
And Moses interceded.
Right.
When God was done with them, but it's just righteousness is still righteousness. And you have to stand for righteousness.
Right. But I think we're talking on different wavelengths.
Yeah, we are.
We are. Because my point is, I cannot reject Israel as God's chosen people. They may not, I promise you, they're not my chosen people, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not God. And if the word says that if you don't bless Israel, if you don't care for them, or you attack Israel, let's put it that way, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
I think it's just carnality to regard their ethnic background. I think sin is sin, right? Scripture says, do good to all people, especially those of the household of faith.
Yeah, but here's the deal. You can't pick and choose. So God has, for whatever reason, put his hand on this group of people. And so the first thing to do is accept that, okay, God has uniquely chosen this group of people for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, within that group of people, you still judge or assess that this is right, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And all of humanity is like that. And so just the fact that that group of people, that ethnic group, has been able to come together again into the land, take over the land when there's no way naturally that should have happened.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I mean, it's a supernatural thing,
right?
Dave.
But
it should testify to the fact that these are God's chosen people.
That's fine. But I still am under the command of God to be kind to all people, get along with all people.
Well, when did I say something contrary to that?
No, it's not. But it did say in there, that little clause, it says, especially those of the household of faith. And then you read what Paul says in Romans. He says, who are the real Jews? You know, he says, if they're in disobedience against God, then they're outside his covenant.
Okay, but then you get to the, 11th or 12th chapter, where he talks about the grafting in, that they are the root.
Exactly.
You cannot claim that they're gone.
Right.
He did not dig up the root. We are grafted into that root.
With whosoever, out of all nation people, he's made us one, unique people. We are a holy nation, a royal priesthood. We are all one in Christ. If we are in Christ, it's in Christ that the promises of God are yea and amen.
Yes, but nevertheless, we are grafted into that root of Israel.
Sure.
The tree is the Jews.
But individually, their righteousness before God stands in who is Jesus.
I agree. Okay, man, we are talking on way different wavelengths, okay, here today. I have a feeling you probably feel more along the lines of Tucker. That you're Tucker and
my
Candace
righteousness is not based on my ethnicity at all. No man says.
We're not talking righteousness. See,
That's
you're on. Well, no, but then you're off here. But in the real world, okay, in the real world, there's a reality that we have to live with.
Yeah,
and the reality is that Israel, the Jews, are God's chosen people. Like it or don't like it.
So am I.
They do what?
So am I.
Yes, but that does not negate the fact that he chose this particular group of people and to set them in a particular place.
He has called them to a purpose, and he promised Abraham and his lineage. He says, I have a plan. I have a promise for you. The same way he told Peter, what difference is it to you if I tell John to go do this? You follow me. We should be focusing on what has God called us to do and be kind to everybody else. I'm
going to quit because I can't get anywhere. Because you've got your mind set in a whole different frame. Okay, okay. To you, you're almost doing what the Jews do. That we are more special and more particular to God than, say, whoever. Okay, as Christians.
As my dad always said, I'm working on my salvation in fear and loathing.
Well, good. Good
fear
on
and
you.
trembling.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
what I'm saying is when God made, and I'll say this to you, when God made the promise to Abraham, and when God in Jeremiah said he had an everlasting covenant with the Jews, everlasting to me means everlasting. Now, I am a partaker of that, but I'm not a usurper of that. So I do not have a greater right, a greater authority. I do not have a greater privilege in God than the Jews do, okay? Now, the Jews are his. He will deal with them. He disciplines them. He spanks them. But in the end, they are still the apple of his eye. They are still his uniquely loved people. And we are able to share in that. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, okay? And for anybody to turn around and say that we are more special than they, I just can't buy it.
Nothing
I just
like
can't buy
that
it.
come out of my mouth. Nothing like it.
Okay.
He said in Galatians 3:29, if you belong to Christ, you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise.
Okay.
I've got to focus on me. I don't, because the other stuff looks like it gets into tribalism, where you judge people based on their ethnicity, their tribe,
No.
I've got an Iranian neighbor who gets into that, and I've heard him trash everybody from Pakistan and India and every other place that isn't Persian.
There's nothing I've ever said. So, for example, my daughter, we have an adopted granddaughter. Mm-hmm. Okay. When we see them, we love and take care of her and accept her as in fact, I remember when she was a baby and she was laughing or doing something special. And I said, wow, she got that from me. And then all of a sudden it hit me. Well, wait a minute. I'm not her blood grandfather.
Yeah.
And I think that's the greatest example that would liken it to this situation with God. That no, we're not of that blood.
Yeah.
But God has adopted us as children, and he loves us as much as he loves them. But that doesn't mean I no longer love my birth children, regardless of what they do, regardless of how they disappoint me or whatever.
It's not an either or, is it?
No,
exactly.
No, it's not. But I'm trying to drive home the point that you've got now this whole multitude of Christians who want to essentially just kick them out and say, no, God's done with the Jews, that we are it. We are it. And what do they call it? There's a whole
replacement.
Yeah, replacement theology. That we have replaced the Jews as the apple of his eye. I'm sorry. If you think you've replaced the Jews, it ain't happening. It'd be like an adopted child coming into a family and saying, I'm now the child. You no longer belong to this family. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's something that we really need to be careful of, because as soon as you do that, you're treading dangerous water.
Yeah. I think generally, if we quit worrying about the next guy doing right and focus on us doing right, we'd do a lot better.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You are your brother's keeper. You can't just say, I'm not worried about them.
Yeah, you got to speak up for righteousness. When you see sin happening, you got to call it out.
Right, right.
And you shouldn't be a respecter of persons. It doesn't matter who they are.
Right.
It's what is the truth and what is God's standard for all mankind to live by.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm just shocked. I shouldn't be at the way the world is turning on Israel and on the Jewish people. It just blows me away that, in fact, here's what's so funny. The same people that came against me 2 years ago in the election cycle is trying to proclaim me as a Jewish hater or whatever. Those same people, I guarantee you, are the ones that are involved in this whole thing of Palestinian rights and this and that.
Yeah.
They're the
It's just like lesbians for Muhammad, They just, I'm sorry, but we don't believe you.
Right.
It's all just a tool to advance your takedown of America. It's just ridiculous what they're trying to do. Look, Eddie, let me say this. Take the nation of Israel and disregard, for the purposes of this point, what their ethnicity is. And look at where their allegiance is and the things they've stood for the last, 70 years now? And ask yourself, is that a good ally of the United States? Absolutely. Because you and I went through the OPEC days, the embargo days. We saw the things that they stood by us on. And I mean, it was said about the Saudi Arabians, they wanted to get rid of Israel if it took every last Egyptian to do it, and we've seen the people who hate them for no good reason because they're tribalists. And the tribalism is the problem.
But it's more than that. It's a supernatural hatred. There's no reason. There's nothing in America Germany, Holland, you name it, Russia. There's no reason that they should hate the Jews or take this side over this. Because as you said, it doesn't really involve us.
No, you're right, because that's an eternal promise they represent. They are the bodily substance that God made a covenant with man that brought about our salvation. And you know what? Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they all acknowledge that. They all establish,
different,
they stipulate those facts as a premise. And you said it best. What's going on over there is a family feud. We best stay out of it. Yeah.
No, I agree. That is exactly right. So, for me to try to say that the people are saying from the river, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free or whatever, and their whole idea is to drive all the Israels into the ocean and kill them and rid the country. I mean, ultimately that is their goal, to annihilate every living Jew. That's how the hatred has gotten so bad.
It is. It's carnality, and it's all about who is Isaac's favorite son.
Right. And so how am I supposed to support these people that have nothing but bloodlust for these people over here? And it's just messed up. And some of the people that I see that you see, it's just, they're stupid. I'm just stupid. The homosexuals, especially, anti-Israel. Gays against Jews or whatever,
right.
Or gays for Palestine.
Right.
Well, actually, the gays for Palestine is the one, because they'll be the first ones thrown off buildings and killed.
And I want to say, it was the Soviets during the Cold War trying to take down the United States that had the Shah overthrown. It was a Soviet plot. And then they got snookered and backstabbed by Khomeini. But what's happened during this, look at the Abraham Accords. They're the biggest testament that we have brought the Arab world, or much of it, over to a place of saying, let's get along. Let's make life better for all of us. And it was the Persians who couldn't tolerate that. That's why this latest round of conflict has happened, is because the Persians cannot tolerate the Arabs getting along with the Israelis. I think that's just, and it is a testament to U.S. foreign policy that we have brought the Arabs and the Israelis to that place of harmony.
Right. I do want to say one thing. I don't think it's not all of the Persians. It's the ones that were exiled and that came back, because the Shah didn't have a problem with Israel.
Yeah. Excuse me, is the regime.
The new regime. Right. And so it'll be interesting to see how it progresses if we do truly set
something
Iranian.
Came out this week when Iran made their big thing is that Israel has to stop bombing Lebanon. Is they showed just how much Hezbollah is Iran. It is Iran. And to Iran, it's indistinguishable. Now we know just how much they took over Lebanon, and it wasn't just that. It was down in Yemen, they owned Syria for the longest time. And then we helped ISIS get rid of the Iranians. And now we're getting along with ISIS, of all people. It's the craziest thing, but I'm saying the United States has overall been a very good force for world peace.
Yeah. Now, here's the other side of it all. Okay. Everything I'm seeing is just supporting biblical prophecy, because I see the one world peace. I see peace in the Middle East.
Okay.
And that's what everybody's pushing for, hoping for. Israel getting along with Saudi Arabia and Lebanon and Egypt and Jordan, and we're all singing Kumbaya. And as soon as we say peace and safety, boom, that's when God says, that's when the end is going to come. So we're just moving, while we pray for peace in Israel, we want to see peace, not just there, but in the world. When we finally do achieve the one world peace, that's the clearest signal that we're about there.
You asked me a couple of years ago, I said, where do you think we are in the end times? And I skirted your question with my answer. Is I believe everything that's in the Bible is going to happen. I just don't know when. And you just kind of laughed like, well, that was a non-answer. I don't know.
No, nobody knows. But I'm saying, but there are signs that give you a hint.
Yes, there are.
Of that we're getting close.
But a lot of what man has done is started with the premise of we are in those last few years or decades, and then interpret everything they see from a presumption of we're in those last days, those last,
right.
And we don't know. We could still be millennia away from that point.
Yeah, we could be. Sure. No one knows. I'm just saying, though, that.
Oh, who said that? That's right. Jesus said, no man knows the day or the hour.
But I got saved by reading the book Lake Red Planet Earth, as did millions of others. And we are so much closer than we were then to seeing the things that are spoken of than we were 50 years ago.
See, and I'll go even further. I got saved by getting scared to death listening to John Todd's tape. Okay?
John Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Okay. And listen, that scared me. Mm-hmm. But you know what kept me in Christ? His love.
Right. But John Todd and Hal Lindsey are wavelengths apart. Is totally a whole different.
But they all presented theories. Okay. John Todd's was about the Illuminati and Satanism and all that. It's a whole different thing.
Right. So,
and you believe all that stuff, it scares you. But I watched, the movie Thief in the Night, and I couldn't sleep that night. I was scared. It wasn't so much that I love God. I was just scared.
Yeah.
And it's the love of Christ that really does its work in man, changes lives.
Now, were you afraid? Did you have the fear of God or the fear of the Illuminati?
Well, see,
was it the Illuminati that scared you?
I was afraid I was going to miss the rapture. Then you just taught me 2 weeks ago that there is no rapture.
I didn't teach you.
You just said it. I don't believe it.
I don't believe there will be a rapture.
Exactly.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. I thank you all for joining us on this debate. There will definitely be 2 segments of this.
Yeah. I'm sure John Cox doesn't
we don't want to get him involved.
I do want to say the one thing you can do to control it is press in, love God, follow his commands, and worship Jesus Christ.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm going to go a step further. Mm-hmm. You don't have to join the Jews for Jesus, but just be careful in your position towards the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
Don't come against them. There's no need to.
Yeah. Be the salt of the earth.
Exactly. Just love the Lord and obey him. So anyway, I think we better
be a light in darkness. Oh, by the way, just one more quick thing happened this morning. Joe Rogan was at the White House today. Right. Now, lately, he's been pretty critical of Trump. And he stood right behind Trump. He's the only guy not wearing a suit and tie, but he had a dress shirt on. And this was a big accomplishment for Joe Rogan. He got Trump, Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Oz, and a whole bunch over there, Department of Health and Human Services, to reschedule and go into research on certain psychedelic drug treatments that they've had just so many anecdotal evidences that it's helped people get off of opioid addictions and, more importantly, certain mental health crises, PTSD and other things. A number of veterans were there. nothing really is going to change except that the federal government's going to change their position from one of it's bad for you to we're going to look into it more. But that's a big step forward.
Yeah, he's good at that. The one that really surprises me that seems to have made friends with and really seems to have changed his whole program, and that is Bill Maher. If you see Bill Maher now, I don't know if it's Trump that's changed him as much as how crazy the left has gotten.
Yeah.
He seems to be now coming down on, and a part of it is the fact that he's Jewish, and maybe he's seeing also what's going on there.
Right.
But Bill Maher now, ever since he visited, who was it invited him? Someone.
It was Kid Rock.
Was it Kid Rock that invited him?
There was another person I'm trying to remember. Kid Rock.
Was it Joe Rogan?
I don't think it was Rogan.
I can't remember, but anyway, and Bill Maher was invited.
Oh, is Dana White?
That's right. Right. They had UFC. Dinner. They had dinner at the White House, and he got to him, and he sat with him, and he said he was just shocked at the fact that Trump answered all of his questions. He wasn't combative. He listened to him, and then he would answer his questions, and it just totally changed his opinion of Donald Trump.
Yeah, and in fact, you and I listened to Smirkonich this week, what he had to say, and he praised Bill Maher. He says, just go back to the objectivity that Bill Maher is showing a great example of. Judge him objectively, not like, the idiots on late night talk show where it's just, I mean, if Donald Trump got in front of if he tweeted out tomorrow, I love Santa Claus, he's a wonderful man, you'd see every Democrat telling their kids there is no Santa Claus just to spite Donald Trump.
Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah.
It's just it's the craziness. So anyway, I'm hoping that things turn around, and gosh, he floated something Trump did this week again about Cuba might be next. I don't know. People are like, what the heck? I think he's just trying to keep people off balance.
Could be.
But you think the biggest hotspots of our problems globally have been Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran. You get them out of the way, Russia and China will be pretty respectably. I mean, has he had any problems with North Korea since he met
That's true.
the dictator? No, they get along great.
And he and Putin get along.
Yes.
I mean, believe it or not, I think a lot of the animosity that Russia may show towards the U.S. is just to deal with these idiot lefties, to show them, they're not joined at the hip, So it's, and even how respectfully always speaks of Chairman
Xi.
I was going to say Mao, but Xi, And so,
because he's getting ready to have a summit with him coming up next month. So
right.
I think it's good. So anyway, I got everything checked off my list. I can call it a wrap.
Well, thank you for that permission. Anyway, hey, listen, everybody, have a great week ahead, and hopefully this weather in Oklahoma will settle down. God bless you guys. Take care.